She kissed her boss in front of 300 people, and the internet lost its mind in 17 minutes. But here's what the cameras didn't catch: the way his hand shook when he touched her face, the way she forgot to breathe, the way 2 years of silence exploded into one moment that would destroy everything they'd built. This is the story of Elena Cross and Adrian Vale, a woman who counted seconds to survive, and a man who finally stopped pretending he could let her go. Stay until the end. Hit like. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The marble was cold under Elena's heels, and she hated it. Not the marble itself. Vale Industries spared no expense on imported Italian stone that probably cost more than her yearly salary, but what it represented. Every click of her shoes against that polished surface was a reminder that she didn't belong here, that she was always one misstep away from sliding. She'd learned to walk quietly. 2 years, 3 months, and 11 days. That's how long she'd been Adrian Vale's executive assistant. That's how long she'd been counting. Not that anyone asked her to count, but numbers were safe. Numbers were controllable. And in a world where her boss could fire half the executive team before lunch without blinking, Elena Cross needed something she could control. The elevator climbed toward the 47th floor, and Elena's stomach dropped with each ascending number. She had exactly 4 minutes before the press conference started. 4 minutes to deliver the revised statement, ensure Adrian's tie was straight, and get herself positioned in the back corner where she belonged. Invisible, efficient, forgotten. The doors opened. Chaos greeted her. The main conference hall was already packed. Journalists jostled for position. Cameras pointed toward the podium like weapons. The board members clustered near the windows, their faces masks of professional concern that didn't quite hide their hunger. Everyone wanted a piece of whatever Adrian Vale was about to say. Elena moved through the crowd like water, slipping between bodies without touching anyone. She'd perfected this skill months ago. Don't make eye contact, don't engage, deliver what's needed, and disappear. She found Adrian backstage, alone. He stood with his back to the door, staring at his reflection in a full-length mirror. His suit was perfect. Charcoal gray, custom-tailored, probably worth more than her car. His dark hair was styled precisely. His jaw was set, but his hands were clenched so tight his knuckles had gone white. "Your statement," Elena said, keeping her voice level. "Professional." She held out the folder without stepping closer. Adrian didn't turn. "Burn it." She blinked. "Sir?" "The statement, whatever the PR team wrote. I'm not reading it." His voice was rough, like he'd been awake for days. Knowing him, he probably had been. Elena's grip tightened on the folder. This was bad. This was very bad. The press conference was supposed to address the hostile takeover attempt, the board revolt, the stockholder concerns. Adrian going off script would be corporate suicide. "Mr. Vale, the board specifically approved—" "The board," he interrupted, finally turning to face her, "can go to hell." And that's when she made her first mistake. She met his eyes. 3 seconds. That was her rule. 3 seconds was professional. Polite. Anything longer became something else. Something dangerous. 1. His eyes were darker than usual, pupils blown wide with something she couldn't name. 2. There were shadows under them, deep purple bruises that makeup couldn't hide. 3. She should look away now. She didn't. "Elena!" Her name in his mouth sounded like a warning or a prayer. She'd never been able to tell which. "You need to stick to the statement," she said, forcing her gaze down to the folder. Safe territory. "The shareholders are already spooked. If you—" "How long have you worked for me?" The question threw her. 2 years. You know that." 2 years, 3 months, and 11 days, Adrian said quietly. Elena's breath caught. He'd been counting too. "In that time," he continued, moving closer, "how many minutes do you think we've spent in the same room?" That's not—" "I calculated it once. 60,420 minutes, give or take." Another step. "Do you know how many of those minutes I've spent wanting to— Don't!" The word came out sharper than she intended. "Don't finish that sentence." "Why not?" "Because you're my boss. Because there are 300 people waiting for you out there. Because this is—" She gestured helplessly between them. "This is a line we don't cross." "What if I'm tired of lines?" "Then you're being selfish." Elena straightened her spine, forcing steel into her voice. You have a company to save. People depending on you. You want to throw that away for what? A feeling? Something flickered across Adrian's face. Pain, maybe. Or anger. A feeling, he repeated slowly. Is that what you think this is? I think you're under stress. I think you haven't slept. I think you need to go out there and convince those vultures that Vale Industries isn't collapsing. She thrust the folder toward him again. So take the statement. Read the words. Save your company. And after you go back to your penthouse, and I go back to my apartment, and we both pretend this conversation never happened. She met his eyes again, another mistake, and forced herself to add, like we always do. For a moment, she thought he'd listen. Thought he'd take the folder, walk onto that stage, and play the part of the untouchable billionaire CEO. Instead, Adrian Vale smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who'd just made a terrible decision and didn't care anymore. I'm done pretending, he said. Then he walked past her, leaving the folder in her hands, and pushed through the curtain onto the stage. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She should stay backstage, should let him crash and burn if that's what he wanted. It wasn't her job to save him from himself, but her feet were already moving. She slipped through the side entrance, positioning herself in the shadows near the back wall. From here, she could see everything. The journalists, the board members, Adrian standing alone at the podium. He didn't speak immediately. The silence stretched, uncomfortable and thick. Most of you came here expecting a statement, Adrian finally said. His voice carried across the room without microphones, sharp and clear. Something carefully crafted by lawyers and PR specialists to reassure you that everything is fine, that Vale Industries is strong, that the recent challenges are merely bumps in the road. He paused. I'm not going to give you that statement. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. Elena's nails dug into her palms. Instead, I'm going to tell you the truth. Adrian's gaze swept across the room, predatory and precise. For the past 6 months, members of this company's own board have been systematically undermining our operations, leaking information to competitors, manipulating stock prices, attempting to orchestrate a hostile takeover that would leave them in control and the company in ruins. The murmur became a roar. Board members shot to their feet, protests overlapping into incomprehensible noise. Adrian spoke over them. I have evidence, financial records, emails, recorded conversations. He smiled, cold and sharp. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that I'd let you gut my company from the inside? This is slander. Douglas Harmon, the board's senior member, pushed forward. You have no proof. Oh, I have 600 pages of proof, which is currently being reviewed by federal investigators. Adrian's smile widened. So please, Douglas, tell everyone how you've been taking bribes from Titan Corp in exchange for proprietary information. Tell them about the offshore accounts. Douglas's face went white. The room exploded. And through it all, Elena felt something shift. This wasn't just a press conference. This was a detonation. Adrian wasn't trying to save his company. He was burning it down to expose the rot. She'd seen him angry before, frustrated, coldly furious. But this was different. This was a man with nothing left to lose. Their eyes met across the chaos. Even from this distance, even through the crowd, Elena felt the impact like a physical blow. He was looking at her the way he'd looked at her backstage, like she was the only person in the room, like everything else was just noise. Mr. Vale! A journalist's voice cut through. Are you saying the board attempted a coup? I'm saying they got greedy, thought they could take what I built. Adrian's attention snapped back to the crowd. They were wrong. And what about the rumors? Another journalist, this one holding a phone aloft. About you and your assistant? Elena's blood turned to ice. There are photos circulating online, the journalist continued, emboldened by the crowd's sudden attention. Of you and Ms. Cross, very close. Are you denying out? No. The word hung in the air like a bomb. No? The journalist's eyes gleamed. So you're confirming? I'm confirming that I'm done lying. Adrian stepped away from the podium, moving down from the stage. The crowd parted instinctively. Done pretending. Done following rules that were designed to keep people like me separate from people like... He was walking toward her. Elena's mind screamed at her to move, to run. To disappear into the crowd before this became something she couldn't undo. Her body refused to obey. Adrian stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, something that made her breath catch. "Elena," he said quietly. "Just her name, nothing else." "Don't." It came out as a whisper. "Adrian, don't do this." "Why not?" "Because you'll regret it. Because tomorrow you'll wake up and realize you destroyed everything for you," he finished. "I'd destroy it all for you." "That's not... You can't just..." But his hand was already moving, cupping her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything he'd just done. His thumb traced her cheekbone. His gaze held hers, refusing to let go. "Run," he said softly. "If you don't want this, run. I won't follow." This was her moment, her chance to walk away, to preserve what was left of her career, her privacy, her carefully controlled life. Elena didn't run. She didn't know who moved first. Maybe it didn't matter. His mouth found hers with a desperation that felt like 2 years of restraint shattering all at once. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his jacket like an anchor. The kiss tasted like coffee and destruction and everything she'd pretended she didn't want. Cameras flashed. Somewhere, people were shouting. The world was ending. And Elena Cross stopped counting seconds. When they finally broke apart, lungs burning, hearts racing, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "I'm sorry," he breathed. "For what?" "For taking so long." Then the moment shattered. Someone grabbed Elena's arm, yanking her backward. Security, probably, or one of the board members. Everything became noise and movement and chaos. She caught one last glimpse of Adrian before the crowd swallowed them both, his expression caught between triumph and terror, a man who'd just jumped off a cliff without checking for water below. Then she was being pulled toward the exit, cameras following, journalists shouting questions she couldn't process. Her phone was already vibrating. No, not vibrating. Exploding. Notifications flooding in so fast the screen couldn't keep up. Someone had filmed the kiss. Of course they had. By the time Elena made it to the elevator, her face was already trending on 3 different platforms. By the time she reached the ground floor, the video had 500,000 views. By the time she stepped onto the street, her entire life had changed. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Ms. Cross?" A woman's voice, professional but urgent. "This is Rebecca Chen from TMZ. We're hoping you could comment on your relationship with Adrian Vale." Elena hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number. She turned it off. The autumn air bit at her skin, sharp and cold. Reality was settling in now, heavy and suffocating. What had she done? What had he done? Her apartment was 12 blocks away. She could walk. She could disappear. She could... A black car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Marcus, Adrian's head of security, looked at her with something close to sympathy. "Get in. It's about to get worse." "Worse than this?" "Ms. Cross, in approximately 4 minutes, every news outlet in the city is going to have your home address, your personal information, everything." He nodded toward the car. "So yes. Worse." Elena climbed in. The car pulled away from Vale Industries just as the first news vans arrived. Marcus drove in silence for several minutes before speaking. "He's been in love with you for a long time." "Don't." Elena stared out the window, watching the city blur past. "Please don't. Just thought you should know. What he did up there, that was an impulse. That was a man who'd finally broken. He broke his company. He broke his cage." Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Question is, what are you going to do now?" Elena didn't have an answer. Her phone, still off, sat in her lap like a grenade. Her reflection in the window looked like a stranger. Her lips still tingled from the kiss. She'd survived 2 years at Vale Industries by following one simple rule: maintain distance, professional, controlled, safe. That rule was dead now. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Safe house, Mr. Vale's orders." Marcus turned down a side street. "You'll stay there until the initial storm passes." "I can go to my own apartment." "No, you can't." His voice was gentle but firm. "Trust me on this. You really can't. The safe house turned out to be a penthouse apartment in a building Elena didn't recognize. Luxury, but understated. The kind of place that cost millions, but didn't advertise it. Marcus handed her a key card. Food stocked. Security's downstairs. Don't answer the door unless you confirm it's me first. How long am I supposed to hide? That's not up to me. He hesitated at the door. For what it's worth, I've worked for Mr. Vale for 8 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Then he was gone. Elena stood alone in the silent apartment, her heart beat too loud in her ears. She turned her phone back on. The screen lit up like a fireworks show. Text messages, emails, social media notifications, voicemails, everything flooding in at once. Most of it was noise. Strangers demanding comment, journalists offering money for interviews, people she barely knew suddenly claiming to be close friends. But buried in the chaos was a single text from a number she didn't recognize. I'm watching you. Elena's blood ran cold. She scrolled down. Another message sent 30 seconds after the first. Did you really think he could protect you? Then an image loaded. Elena's hands went numb. The photo showed her apartment, her bedroom window, taken from outside at night, and in the window, barely visible through gauzy curtains, Elena, asleep in her bed. Someone had been watching her, in her home, while she slept. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattering against the marble floor. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. The walls of the safe house seemed to close in, no longer protective but imprisoning. She was being watched, had been watched. For how long? Another notification buzzed. Elena forced herself to pick up the phone. A new message. Tell Adrian to resign, or everyone sees what I have. You have 48 hours. The phone buzzed again. Another image appeared. This one showed Elena and Adrian in his office, 3 months ago. She was handing him a file. Normal, professional. Except the angle was wrong. This photo was taken from inside the office, from behind Adrian's bookshelf, where a camera must have been hidden. How many cameras? How long had someone been documenting them? Elena's mind raced through the implications. This wasn't random. This was calculated. Someone had been building a case against them, or more specifically, against Adrian, for months. The board. Had to be. Douglas Harmon, or one of his allies. They'd known about the investigation into their corruption, so they'd created insurance. Blackmail. Her stomach twisted. The phone rang. Elena almost didn't answer, but the screen showed Marcus's number. Turn on the TV, he said without preamble. Channel 7. She found the remote with shaking hands. The news anchor's face filled the screen, grave and hungry for scandal. Breaking story tonight as controversial tech CEO Adrian Vale's shocking kiss with his assistant goes viral. But sources close to the company suggest this may be more than a simple office romance. Leaked documents indicate. Elena muted it. She didn't need to hear more. The damage was already done. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time she answered. Miss Cross? A man's voice, smooth and cold. I believe you received my messages. Who are you? Let's skip the introductions. You know what I want. I can't make Adrian resign. Then you'll watch your life burn. The voice was calm, almost pleasant. Every private moment, every compromising photo. I have 2 years' worth of surveillance, Miss Cross. Imagine what the internet will do with that. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. This is illegal. You're threatening. I'm offering a choice. Adrian Vale resigns and disappears, or the world sees everything, including the photos from last summer. You remember last summer, don't you? Elena's blood turned to ice. Last summer. The company retreat. The night she and Adrian had worked late in the conference room, frustrated and exhausted, when the tension between them had nearly... But they'd stopped. She'd left. Nothing had happened. Nothing except what the cameras might have captured. The moment before she walked away. When Adrian's hand had caught her wrist. When she'd turned back. When she'd almost... 48 hours, the voice said. Don't test me. The line went dead. Elena stood frozen, her mind spinning through possibilities and finding no exits. If she told Adrian, he'd refuse to resign. He'd fight. And whoever was behind this would release everything, destroying not just his company, but her entire life. If she didn't tell him, He'd walk into whatever trap they were setting blind. If she ran, could she run? Could she disappear, change her name, start over somewhere this mess couldn't follow? The apartment suddenly felt like a cage. Her phone buzzed again. She nearly screamed. But this time, it was a text from Adrian. "Are you safe?" Elena stared at the message. 3 simple words. Underneath them, she could feel everything he wasn't saying. The worry, the guilt, the impossible thing growing between them that had nowhere to go. She typed back, "Yes, a lie." But what else could she say? 3 dots appeared. He was typing. Then they disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, "I'm sorry for all of this. Don't be." Another long pause. "I meant what I said. I'd destroy it all for you." Elena's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to cry. "That's the problem," she typed. "I don't want you to." No response. She waited, watching the screen. Nothing. Finally, she added, "Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be worse." The 3 dots appeared one last time. It already is. Elena turned off the phone and walked to the window. 47 stories below, the city glittered like broken glass. Beautiful and sharp and unforgiving. Somewhere out there, someone was watching, waiting, counting down the hours until they could destroy everything. And somewhere else, Adrian Vale was probably standing at his own window, staring at the same city, thinking the same impossible thoughts. 2 years, 3 months, and 11 days. All of it leading to this moment. Elena pressed her palm against the cold glass and made a decision. She wasn't going to run, wasn't going to hide, and she sure as hell wasn't going to let some faceless blackmailer win. Tomorrow she'd figure out who was behind the threats. Tomorrow she'd find the cameras. Tomorrow she'd fight back. But tonight, she let herself remember what it felt like to kiss Adrian Vale in front of 300 people and not care about the consequences. Just for tonight. The city lights blurred again. This time, she let the tears fall. Morning came like a punishment. Elena woke on the safe house couch, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her neck twisted at an angle that promised a headache. For 3 seconds, she thought maybe it had all been a nightmare. Then her phone buzzed on the coffee table and reality crashed back in. 43 missed calls, hundreds of notifications, and at the top, a new message from the unknown number. Day 1, TikTok. She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a satisfying crack but kept buzzing, relentless as a heartbeat. Elena pressed her palms against her eyes until she saw stars. Her mouth tasted like copper and regret. Every muscle ached like she'd been in a fight. Maybe she had been. The TV was still on, muted, cycling through the same footage on repeat. Her and Adrian. The kiss. From 17 different angles now, as bystanders and journalists released their recordings. Some had added slow-motion effects. One had romantic music overlaid. She wanted to vomit. Her reflection in this darkened screen looked like a ghost. Hair tangled, mascara smudged beneath red-rimmed eyes. This wasn't the Elena Cross who'd walked into Vale Industries yesterday morning. That woman had been in control. This woman didn't even recognize herself. The apartment's intercom buzzed. Elena froze. Marcus had said not to answer unless... It buzzed again. Longer this time. She crept to the door, every horror movie she'd ever seen playing through her mind. The camera feed showed the hallway outside. Empty. Then she looked down at the floor. A manila envelope had been slid under the door. No note, no return address, just the envelope, thick and heavy. Elena's hand shook as she picked it up. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Her leaving her apartment building. Her at the coffee shop on 5th Street. Her walking through the park. All taken from a distance, all within the past month. And underneath, a printed message in block letters. We've been watching longer than you think. The envelope slipped from her fingers. Photographs scattered across the marble floor like evidence at a crime scene. Someone knocked on the door. Elena jumped back, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Ms. Cross," Marcus's voice muffled through the wood. "It's me. Let me in." She checked the camera feed again. Marcus stood alone, his face grim. Elena opened the door. Marcus stepped inside, saw the photographs, and cursed under his breath. "When did these arrive?" "Just now, under the door." Her voice sounded hollow. "You didn't see anyone?" No, I've been stationed downstairs since midnight. He crouched, examining the photos without touching them. Professional quality, telephoto lens. Whoever's doing this has resources. They called me last night, gave me 48 hours to make Adrian resign. Elena wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. They have surveillance from inside his office, cameras hidden somewhere. They've been recording us for months. Marcus's jaw tightened. Does Vale know? No. You need to tell him. So he can what? Burn down the building looking for cameras? Elena shook her head. That's exactly what they want. Chaos. Him acting reckless. It gives them ammunition. And you lying to him gives them leverage. Marcus stood, his expression hard. He's going to find out, Ms. Cross. Better it comes from you. Before Elena could respond, her phone buzzed again. She retrieved it from where it had landed near the window, screen cracked but still functional. Adrian's name flashed on the display. She stared at it, paralyzed. Answer and lie? Ignore and confirm his suspicions that something was wrong? The phone kept ringing. Marcus watched her. Your choice, but make it fast, Elena answered. Where are you? Adrian's voice was rough, like he'd been shouting, or not sleeping. Probably both. The safe house, where Marcus brought me. I'm coming over. No, Elena, half the internet thinks you're being held hostage, and the other half thinks you're a gold digger who seduced her boss. I need to see you're okay. The vulnerability in his voice nearly broke her. I'm fine. You're lying. Adrian, I can hear it. You do this thing where your voice goes flat when you're lying, like you're reading from a script. A pause. What happened? Elena looked at the photographs scattered across the floor, the cracked phone in her hand. Marcus watching her with something close to pity. Nothing I can't handle. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got right now. Silence stretched between them. She could hear him breathing, controlled and measured, the way he breathed when he was trying not to lose his temper. I'm destroying your life, he said finally. You're destroying your company. I don't care about the company. Liar. Elena sank onto the couch. You care more about that company than anything. It's your entire identity. Not anymore. Adrian, stop. Just stop saying things like that. Why? Because it scares you? Because you don't want to believe someone could actually... Because it's not real. The words burst out before she could stop them. This isn't some grand romance. This is you having a breakdown and me being stupid enough to get caught in the blast radius. Another pause, longer this time. When Adrian spoke again, his voice was ice. Is that what you think this is? A breakdown? I think you spent 2 years obsessing over something you couldn't have, and yesterday you finally snapped. I think you're conflating proximity with feeling. I think you know me. I've worked for you for 2 years. I know exactly who you are. Then you know I don't snap. I don't lose control. I don't do anything without calculating the cost first. His laugh was bitter. Except yesterday. Yesterday I stopped calculating. And look where it got us. Where's that? You, alive and real and finally looking at me like I'm a person instead of a paycheck? Me? Free from pretending I don't feel what I feel? He exhaled sharply. Yeah, look where it got us. Elena's throat tightened. They're threatening me. Whoever's behind the board conspiracy. They want you to resign or they'll release surveillance footage of us. Private moments, things taken out of context. They've been watching for months, Adrian. Cameras in your office, someone following me home. Dead silence. Then, where are you? Exactly. No, you're not coming here angry. You're not... Address, now. Marcus cleared his throat. Sir, I don't think... Marcus, if you don't tell me where she is in the next 5 seconds, you're fired. Firing me won't change. 1. Elena grabbed Marcus's arm before he could respond. Don't, he means it. 2. Penthouse suite, Riverside Towers, but sir, the line went dead. Marcus looked at Elena. You've got maybe 10 minutes before he shows up ready to kill someone. Great. She stood, her legs unsteady. Just great. For what it's worth, I've never seen him like this. Whatever he feels for you, it's not calculated. That's the problem. Elena gathered the photographs, shoving them back into the envelope. Calculated I could handle. This? This is going to get us both destroyed. 8 minutes later, the elevator dinged. Adrian emerged like a storm given human form. No tie, shirt wrinkled, hair disheveled. He looked like he'd dressed in 30 seconds and driven here breaking every traffic law. His eyes found Elena immediately. "Show me," he said. "Adrian, show me what they sent you." Elena handed him the envelope. He pulled out the photographs one by one, his expression growing darker with each image. His hands were steady, but his jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. "When?" One word. Clipped. "Last night and this morning." What did they say exactly? Elena repeated the phone call, the 48-hour deadline, the threat to release everything. Adrian set the photographs down with deliberate care. When he looked up, his eyes were black. "Names. I need names. We don't have Douglas Harmon. Has to be. He's the only one with the resources and the motive." Adrian pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the FBI." "And telling them what? That someone's blackmailing you with surveillance footage of you and your assistant?" Elena stepped closer. "That makes you look guilty, like you were hiding something worth blackmailing over." "I don't care how it looks." "Well, I do. My face is already all over the internet. My family won't stop calling. I have journalists camped outside my actual apartment building." Her voice cracked. "I can't. If they release those videos, I can't come back from that." Adrian's expression softened. He reached for her. Elena stepped back. "Don't." "Elena, every time you touch me, this gets worse. Every time you look at me like that, someone takes a picture or makes an assumption or—" She wrapped her arms around herself. "We need distance. Professional distance. Until this blows over. It's not going to blow over. Then we make it. You do some interviews, show contrition, explain that it was a moment of stress. I go on leave. We separate the narrative." That's what the PR team would say. "Because they're right." "No." Adrian shook his head. "They're strategic. There's a difference. Strategy is what we need right now. What we need is the truth." "The truth?" Elena laughed, sharp and humorless. "The truth is, you kissed me in front of 300 people, and now my entire life is on fire. The truth is, someone's been watching us for months and we didn't notice. The truth is, I can't tell if you actually care about me or if I'm just the one thing you couldn't control, so you decided you had to have me." The words hit like bullets. She watched them land, saw Adrian flinch. "You really believe that?" His voice was quiet, dangerous. "I don't know what I believe anymore." "Then let me make it simple." He closed the distance between them in 2 strides. "I have spent 2 years trying not to want you. 2 years telling myself it was inappropriate, unprofessional, impossible. 2 years watching you walk into my office every morning and having to remember how to breathe like a normal human being." "Adrian, I'm not done." His hands framed her face, gentle, despite the intensity in his eyes. "You want to know if this is real? If I'm just obsessed with something I can't control? Fine, walk away, leave. I won't follow. I won't call. I won't fight it." Elena's heart hammered. "What? You think this is about possession? Prove me wrong. Walk out that door and I'll let you go." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "But if you stay, if you're still here in 60 seconds, then stop pretending you don't feel this too." "That's not fair." "Nothing about this is fair." They stood frozen, inches apart, the air between them electric and suffocating. Elena's mind screamed at her to leave, to run, to save what was left of her career and her sanity. Her body refused to move. 30 seconds passed. 40. 50. "I hate you," she whispered. "I know. This is the worst decision I've ever made." "Probably." 60 seconds. Elena didn't leave. Adrian's forehead dropped to hers. His exhale shook. "Thank God." "Don't thank anything yet. We still have to deal with—" Her phone buzzed. They both looked at it. Unknown number. Again. Elena answered on speaker. "Elena. Ms. Cross. Mr. Vale." The same smooth, cold voice from last night. "How lovely that you're together. Saves me a second call." Adrian's expression turned to stone. "Who is this?" "Someone who's watched you build an empire on other people's suffering. Someone who's tired of watching you win. A pause. The deadline's moved up. You have until midnight tonight. Resign and disappear, or the world sees everything. You release that footage, you implicate yourself in corporate espionage, Adrian said. Federal crime, 10 years minimum. Assuming anyone can prove it was me. The voice held a smile. I'm very good at covering my tracks. Douglas Harmon, that's you, isn't it? Laughter. Douglas, please, he's a useful idiot. This is bigger than one man's wounded pride. Elena's stomach dropped. If it wasn't Harmon, then who? What do you want? She asked. I want Adrian Vale removed from power. Permanently. No golden parachute, no severance. Just gone. Why? Because some people deserve to burn. The voice hardened. Midnight, Mr. Vale. Choose wisely. The line went dead. Adrian immediately dialed another number. Marcus, pull all the financial records for every board member. All their shell companies, offshore accounts, family connections, everything. Marcus's voice came through tinny but clear. Sir, that's going to take... You have 6 hours. Make it happen. He hung up and turned to Elena. We're going to the office. Are you insane? There are probably reporters everywhere. Good. Let them watch. His smile was sharp. If someone wants me gone, they're going to have to work harder than blackmail. Adrian, they have surveillance of us. Private moments. If that gets out, then it gets out. I'm done being afraid of the truth. Elena grabbed his arm. This isn't just about you. My face is attached to this. My reputation, my future. You can survive a scandal because you're a billionaire with connections. What do I have? That stopped him. He looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression cracked. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm being selfish. Yes, you are. So what do we do? So what do you... Elena's mind raced. They needed to find out who was behind the blackmail. They needed to locate the cameras. They needed to control the narrative before someone else did. And they needed to do it all in less than 12 hours. We split up, she said finally. You go to the office, make a show of business as usual. I'll work from here, go through everything we know, find the connection we're missing. I don't want to leave you alone. I'm not alone. Marcus is here. And besides, she gestured at the penthouse. This is probably the safest place in the city right now. Adrian hesitated. Go, Elena said, before I change my mind about all of this. He left, but not before kissing her forehead so gently it hurt. The moment he was gone, Elena collapsed onto the couch. Marcus emerged from where he'd been tactfully standing in the hallway. You okay? No, but I need coffee and your help. I can do coffee. What kind of help? The illegal kind. His eyebrows rose. Excuse me? Whoever planted those cameras had access to Adrian's office. That means someone on the inside, someone with security clearance. She stood, adrenaline replacing exhaustion. I need you to pull up every person who entered that office in the past 6 months. Cross-reference with financial anomalies, sudden lifestyle changes, anything suspicious. Ms. Cross, that's a lot of data. I have a degree in forensic accounting and nothing to do for the next 6 hours. Get me the data. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Yes, ma'am. 2 hours later, Elena had consumed 3 cups of coffee and filled 17 pages of notes. The data told a story, but not the one she expected. Security logs showed 43 people with regular access to Adrian's office. Of those, only 8 had the technical knowledge to install hidden cameras. Of those 8, 3 had made large cash deposits in the past 2 months. But it was the 4th name that made Elena's blood run cold. Sarah Chen, Adrian's previous executive assistant, the woman Elena had replaced 2 years ago. Sarah had left Vale Industries suddenly, no explanation given. Elena had always assumed she'd quit for a better opportunity. Now she pulled up Sarah's employment records and found something interesting. Sarah hadn't quit. She'd been fired. For what? The records didn't say. Just terminated for cause and a substantial severance payment that looked more like hush money. Elena called Marcus. I need everything you have on Sarah Chen, employment history, current location, financial records, everything. The previous assistant? Why? Because she had unlimited access, technical skills, and a reason to hold a grudge. Elena was already pulling up social media profiles. And because her brother works for Titan Corp. The competitor trying to acquire Vale? Exactly. Marcus was quiet, then, I'll get you what I need, but Ms. Cross, if you're right about this, it means the conspiracy goes deeper than we thought. I know. Elena stared at Sarah's LinkedIn photo. Pretty, professional, smiling. What had happened to make her destroy Adrian? Her phone rang. Not the burner number this time, her actual phone. A number she recognized, her sister. Elena answered. Hey. Oh my God, you're alive. Rachel's voice pitched between relief and anger. I've been calling for 18 hours. Do you know how many news vans are outside Mom and Dad's house right now? Do you know what they're saying about you? Rachel, I can't really. You kissed your billionaire boss and it's everywhere. Everywhere, Elena. My friends are sending me links. My boss asked me about it. The barista at my coffee shop knew who you were. Elena closed her eyes. I'm sorry. Sorry? That's it? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? I want you to explain. I want you to tell me this is all fake or a misunderstanding or something that makes sense. Rachel's voice cracked. You don't do things like this. You're the responsible one, the one who has a plan for everything. And now you're, what, having an affair with your boss? It's not an affair. Then what is it? Elena didn't have an answer. Rachel exhaled shakily. Mom's worried. Dad won't say anything, but I can tell he's upset. And Aunt Marie called to ask if you'd been brainwashed by a cult. Despite everything, Elena almost laughed. A cult. That's what happens when you disappear for 24 hours after kissing a billionaire on live television. People make assumptions. Tell them I'm fine. Tell them it's complicated. Tell them... Elena ran a hand through her hair. Tell them I'm sorry for dragging everyone into this. Are you safe? The question landed soft but heavy. Yes, Elena said. I'm safe. Are you happy? That one was harder. I don't know yet. Rachel was quiet for a moment. He better be worth it. Whatever he is to you, he better be worth all of this. After her sister hung up, Elena sat in silence. Was Adrian worth it? Worth her career imploding? Worth her family being harassed? Worth becoming a viral spectacle? She didn't know. But she was still here, still fighting. That had to mean something. Her laptop pinged. Marcus had sent over Sarah Chen's files. Elena opened them and started reading. An hour later, she had her answer. Sarah Chen hadn't just been fired. She'd been fired after filing a sexual harassment complaint against Douglas Harmon. The complaint had been buried, the evidence destroyed. Sarah had been paid off and forced to sign an NDA, and Adrian had approved it all. Elena's hands shook as she read through the documents. Adrian's signature appeared on every page. The settlement, the NDA, the agreement to expunge all records from Sarah's personnel file. He'd known. He'd known Douglas Harmon was a predator, and he'd covered it up to avoid a scandal. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. Making progress here. Found 3 hidden cameras so far, all pointed at my desk. You were right about inside access. Elena stared at the message. Should she tell him what she found? That his decision to protect the company 2 years ago had created the enemy now trying to destroy him? Another message, how are you holding up? She typed, fine. Found some leads, we'll update you later. Then she deleted it and wrote instead, we need to talk, in person. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. That sounds ominous. It is. I'm coming back. No. Finish what you're doing, I'll come to you. Elena, I'll explain when I get there. Just be prepared. She closed the laptop and stood. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Where are you going? Vale Industries. I need to see him. That's a bad idea. The reporters don't care. Elena grabbed her jacket. Drive me or I'll take a cab. Marcus sighed. You're as stubborn as he is. I'm worse. The drive to Vale Industries took 30 minutes through midday traffic. Elena spent it reviewing everything she'd learned, trying to figure out how to tell Adrian that his past had come back to destroy them both. They pulled up to the building's underground garage. Marcus's idea to avoid the media circus at the front entrance. The elevator ride to the 47th floor felt endless. When the doors opened, Elena stepped into chaos. People rushed between offices. Voices overlapped in urgent conversation. Someone was on the phone arguing about stock prices. Someone else was crying in a corner. Elena pushed through toward Adrian's office. She found him standing at his desk, surrounded by tiny cameras, 7 of them, lined up like evidence. "Bathroom," he said without looking up. "Bookshelf, inside the desk lamp. They were everywhere." "Adrian?" Whoever did this was thorough, professional. This took months to set up. He finally looked at her, and his expression was haunted. "They watched us. Every conversation, every moment I thought was private. I know who it was." That got his attention. "Who?" "Sarah Chen, your previous assistant, the one you fired 2 years ago." Adrian went very still. "How did you—" "I pulled her employment records, found the harassment complaint she filed against Douglas Harmon, found the settlement you approved." Elena stepped closer. "Found out you paid her $300,000 to stay quiet about what he did." The color drained from Adrian's face. It wasn't." He stopped. Started again. "Douglas was a founding board member. His connections kept the company afloat through the early years. If Sarah had gone public with allegations, it would have destroyed everything we'd built. So you destroyed her instead." "I gave her money, resources, a reference that got her a better job. You silenced her, made her sign away her right to speak about what happened." Elena's voice was cold. "And you never told me." "There was nothing to tell. It was handled." "Handled?" She laughed bitterly. "Adrian, she's the one blackmailing us. She and whoever she's working with at Titan Corp. This entire conspiracy traces back to your decision to protect a predator instead of an employee." Adrian sank into his chair. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked lost. "I was trying to save the company," he said quietly. "I know. If the harassment complaint had gone public, we would have lost everything. Investors would have pulled out. Partners would have walked. We were barely profitable back then. One scandal could have—" "I understand the logic." Elena sat across from him. "I'm just not sure I can accept it." "What does that mean?" "It means I need to know. If that situation happened today, what would you do?" Adrian met her eyes. "Today, I'd fire Douglas immediately, publicly support the victim, take the hit to the company's reputation because that's the right thing to do. But 2 years ago? 2 years ago I was younger, more desperate, more willing to compromise my values to win." He leaned forward. "I'm not that person anymore." "Aren't you? Yesterday you kissed me in front of everyone without asking, without considering what it would do to my life. That sounds like someone who still puts what he wants above everything else." The words hung between them like a verdict. Adrian's jaw tightened. "You're right." "What?" "You're right. I was selfish. I am selfish. I saw what I wanted and I took it without thinking about the cost to you." He stood, moving to the window. "Maybe that's who I'll always be. Someone who destroys things by wanting them too much." Elena's chest ached. "Adrian, you should go. Get out before I ruin your life any more than I already have. Stop it. I'm serious. You deserve better than this. Better than me. Don't you dare?" Elena stood, anger flooding her veins. "Don't you dare make this decision for me. I'm an adult. I can choose what risks I want to take." "Even if the risk is me?" "Especially if the risk is you." She crossed to him, forcing him to look at her. "You made a mistake 2 years ago. Fine. You've made mistakes since then. So have I. We're human. But don't you dare use your guilt as an excuse to push me away." "Elena, I'm not Sarah Chen. I'm not going to let you silence me or pay me off or make decisions about my life without me." Her voice shook. "If I walk away, it'll be because I choose to, not because you decided I should." Adrian stared at her. Then, slowly, he smiled. "You're terrifying when you're angry. You have no idea." His hand found hers. "So what do we do?" "We find Sarah Chen, we figure out who she's working with, and we end this before midnight. That's 7 hours." "Then we better hurry!" But before they could move, Adrian's office door burst open. Marcus stood there, his face pale. "Sir, we have a problem." "What now?" "The blackmailer released the videos early. They're online, everywhere." Elena's world tilted. "How early?" Adrian demanded. 5 minutes ago. They're already trending. I've got the IT team trying to take them down, but..." Marcus looked at Elena. I'm sorry. Elena's phone started buzzing, then buzzing continuously. Notification after notification flooding in. She pulled it out with numb fingers. Her screen filled with links. All to the same video. Her and Adrian in his office. 6 months ago. The night they'd almost... She couldn't breathe. Elena. Adrian's voice seemed far away. Look at me. Don't look at the phone. Look at me. But she couldn't stop watching. The video showed them arguing. About what, she didn't remember. But the body language was clear, the tension, the way they orbited each other like magnets. Then Adrian stepped closer, and Elena didn't step back. His hand caught her wrist. She turned. They stood frozen for 15 seconds that felt like hours. Then Elena pulled away and left. Nothing had happened, nothing physical. But the video made it clear something else had happened, something that had been building for months. It's edited, Adrian said. They cut out the beginning and end, made it look more... I don't care how it looks. Elena's voice was hollow. It's out there. My family will see it. My friends. Everyone I've ever known. We'll fix this. How? How do you fix this? I don't know. Adrian's control finally snapped. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to protect you. I don't know how to... Elena kissed him, not gently, not romantically, but fierce and desperate and angry. When she pulled back, they were both breathing hard. Stop trying to protect me, she said. Start fighting with me instead. Adrian's eyes blazed. You're insane. Probably. She grabbed her jacket. Come on. We're going to find Sarah Chen and end this. How? Elena smiled, sharp and dangerous. We're going to give her exactly what she wants. Which is? You, broken and desperate. She headed for the door. Lucky for us, you're halfway there already. Marcus followed them to the elevator. Where are we going? Titan Corp headquarters, Elena said. If Sarah's working with them, that's where she'll be. You can't just walk into a competitor's building. Watch us. The elevator descended. Elena's phone kept buzzing. She turned it off. Beside her, Adrian was coiled tight, ready to explode. Whatever happens, he said quietly, I need you to know. Don't. Elena cut him off. Don't say goodbye. Don't say sorry. Just stay focused. He nodded. The elevator reached the garage. They stepped out together and walked straight into an ambush. Reporters. Dozens of them. Cameras and microphones and shouted questions forming a wall of noise. Mr. Vale, is it true you're resigning? Ms. Cross, did you know about the surveillance? Is your relationship real or corporate strategy? Are you pressing charges? Marcus tried to push through, but there were too many. Elena felt Adrian's hand find hers. She squeezed back. Then a voice cut through the chaos. Let them through. The crowd parted. A woman stood at the edge, backlit by the afternoon sun. Late 30s, professional suit, familiar face. Sarah Chen. She smiled. Hello, Adrian. It's been a while. Adrian's grip on Elena's hand tightened. Sarah. I thought we should talk, publicly, since you like public declarations so much now. Sarah gestured to the cameras. Don't worry, I'll keep it brief. What do you want? Elena asked. Sarah's eyes shifted to her, cold, calculating. I want him to tell the truth about what he did, about who he really is. Sarah, whatever you think, I think you're a predator who protects predators. Sarah's voice carried across the garage. I think you silenced me because it was convenient. I think you've spent your entire career stepping on people and calling it business. That's not... And I think, Sarah continued, that the world deserves to know what you're really like. So I'm giving them a choice. She pulled out her phone. I have hours of surveillance, not just of you and Elena, but of every shady deal, every questionable decision, every moment you thought no one was watching. The reporters pressed closer, sensing blood. I'll delete everything, Sarah said. All of it. Gone. On one condition. Name it, Adrian said. Resign, publicly, right now, on camera, and confess to what you did to me 2 years ago. Elena felt Adrian's whole body go rigid. This was it. The point of no return. If he confessed, the company would collapse. His reputation would be destroyed. Everything he'd built would turn to ash. If he refused, Sarah would release everything, and Elena's life would be collateral damage. Do it, Elena said quietly. Adrian looked at her sharply. What? Confess? Resign? Burn it all down if you have to. She stepped closer to Sarah. But first, tell her the truth about Douglas Harmon. Sarah frowned. What truth? That he didn't stop with you, that there were others, that Adrian's been building a case against him for the past 6 months. Elena's voice was steady, clear. That the federal investigation you've been hearing about, it's not just about the hostile takeover, it's about every person Douglas hurt, including you. Sarah's expression flickered. You're lying. Am I? Elena pulled out her phone, turned it back on, and showed Sarah a document. This is a witness statement from Rachel Morgan, former VP of Operations. She filed a complaint against Douglas 3 months ago. Adrian supported her, personally. Sarah read the screen. Her face went pale. There are 4 more, Elena continued. 4 more women who came forward once they knew they'd be believed. Once they knew Adrian would actually listen. But 2 years ago, he made a mistake. A terrible, cowardly mistake. Elena looked at Adrian, and he spent every day since then trying to fix it. Not publicly, not for credit, just trying to do better. Sarah's hand shook. This doesn't change, it changes everything. Elena's voice softened. You have every right to be angry, but destroying him won't heal what happened to you. It'll just create more victims. The garage fell silent. Sarah stared at the phone, at the reporters, at Adrian. I wanted you to suffer, she said finally, the way I suffered. I know, Adrian said. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I'm sorry I chose the company over doing what was right. I'm sorry it took me so long to become someone who wouldn't make that choice again. Sorry doesn't fix anything. No, but maybe this does. Adrian pulled out his own phone and made a call. On speaker. Vale. A man's voice answered. Director Morrison. I'm here with Sarah Chen. She has evidence of corporate espionage, blackmail, and conspiracy involving members of my board and Titan Corp executives. Sarah's eyes went wide. She's been coerced into participating, Adrian continued, by people who used her legitimate grievances against me as leverage. I'd like her to have immunity in exchange for testimony. Silence. Then, that's highly irregular. She was trying to expose corruption. She just got caught between 2 companies playing dirty. If anyone should face charges, it's the people who manipulated her. Director Morrison sighed. Put her on. Adrian handed Sarah the phone. She took it with shaking hands. Ms. Chen, this is FBI Director Morrison. If you're willing to cooperate fully with our investigation, we can discuss immunity. But I need to know right now, will you testify against everyone involved? Sarah looked at Adrian, at Elena, at the cameras still recording every second. Yes, she said. I'll tell you everything. The next 3 hours were a blur. FBI agents arrived. Sarah was taken into protective custody. The reporters were dispersed. Douglas Harmon was arrested at his home, along with 3 Titan Corp executives. By sunset, the board conspiracy had collapsed. By midnight, every major news outlet had the real story. And somewhere in the chaos, Elena and Adrian ended up back at the safe house, alone and exhausted and still standing. We did it, Adrian said, his voice hollow with shock. We survived, Elena corrected. Is there a difference? She thought about it. I'll let you know when I can feel my legs again. He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rough and broken and beautiful. Then he pulled her close and just held on. Elena let herself lean into him. Just for a moment, just until the world stopped spinning. What now? She whispered. Now? Adrian's arms tightened. Now I have to testify against half my board, rebuild the company from scratch, probably face a dozen lawsuits. Sounds fun. And you? Elena pulled back enough to see his face. I quit. What? I'm resigning, effective immediately. She smiled at his stunned expression. I can't work for you anymore, Adrian. But not like this. Not with everyone watching. Not when I... She stopped. Started again. I need to build something of my own. Something that isn't defined by you or this company or what people think we are. You're leaving me. I'm choosing me. Elena cupped his face. But that doesn't mean I'm walking away from this. From us. Whatever we are. What are we? I have no idea. She kissed him softly. And for the first time in 2 years, that doesn't terrify me. Adrian's eyes searched hers. Where will you go? Home. Eventually, after the FBI is done with my statement. Elena stepped back. I'll stay in Harmon City. Start consulting maybe. Or go back to school. I haven't decided. Can I call you? You better. He smiled. Can I take you to dinner? If you're willing to deal with photographers following us everywhere. Worth it. Elena moved toward the door, then paused. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you for giving Sarah the choice, for not destroying her to save yourself. I should have given her that choice 2 years ago. But you did it today. That matters. She left him standing there, silhouetted against the city lights. Tomorrow would bring new problems, new challenges. The fallout was far from over. But tonight, Elena Cross walked out on her own terms. And she didn't look back. Elena made it 3 blocks before her knees gave out. She caught herself against a brick wall, her palms scraping rough stone, and tried to remember how to breathe. The adrenaline that had carried her through the past 12 hours was gone, leaving nothing but a hollow ache and the taste of copper in her mouth. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it, buzzed again, and again. She pulled it out, ready to throw it into the street, when she saw the caller ID FBI Director Morrison. Elena answered, Yes? Ms. Cross, we have a problem. Of course they did. What kind of problem? Sarah Chen recanted her testimony 20 minutes ago, claims she was coerced. Her lawyer is arguing entrapment. Morrison's voice was clipped, professional, but Elena could hear the frustration beneath. Without her statement, we don't have enough for the RICO charges. Elena's grip on the phone tightened. She agreed to testify. I was there. You were on the phone. I know. But her lawyer is claiming Adrian Vale pressured her, that the immunity offer was contingent on her saying what he wanted to hear. That's insane. It's effective. Her lawyer is Gerald Hartwick. He doesn't lose. And he's already filed motions to suppress everything she said tonight as inadmissible. The street tilted. Elena pressed harder against the wall. So what does that mean? It means Douglas Harmon walks. The Titan Corp executives walk. Everyone involved in the conspiracy walks. Morrison exhaled sharply. Unless we can find another witness, someone with direct knowledge of the scheme who's willing to go on record. What about the financial records, the emails? Circumstantial without testimony to establish context. Harmon's lawyers will argue it was legitimate business transactions. We need someone who can confirm intent. A pause. We need Sarah, and she's gone dark. Gone dark? As of 30 minutes ago. She left the FBI field office with her lawyer and disappeared, phones off. Home address is empty. She's either running or someone got to her. Elena's mind raced. Who's her lawyer connected to? We're looking into it, but Ms. Cross, Morrison's tone shifted. You should know. There are rumors circulating that you and Vale orchestrated this entire thing, that Sarah was right to recant, that you manipulated her. We didn't. I believe you. But perception matters. And right now, the perception is that a billionaire and his girlfriend played the FBI. The word girlfriend landed like a slap. We're not. Elena stopped. What were they? It doesn't matter what we are. The evidence is real. The conspiracy is real. Then find me proof I can use in court, because without it, this case is dead. Morrison hung up. Elena stood on the empty street corner, the city humming around her, and felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Everything they'd done, everything they'd risked, Sarah's confession, the arrest, the momentary victory, all of it falling apart. Her phone buzzed again. Adrian this time. She answered. I heard. Where are you? His voice was tight. Somewhere between your building and nowhere. Elena pushed off the wall, her legs unsteady. Morrison called, said Sarah recanted. I know. I'm looking at the news coverage now. They're calling her brave, saying she stood up to corporate intimidation. A bitter laugh. 24 hours ago, she was blackmailing us. Now she's a hero. Who's her lawyer? Morrison said Gerald Hartwick. Silence. Adrian? Hartwick is the best defense attorney on the East Coast. He doesn't take cases unless they're high profile and well funded. Adrian's voice dropped. Sarah Chen doesn't have that kind of money. So someone paid for him. Someone with deep pockets and a vested interest in making sure she doesn't testify. Elena's stomach twisted. Titan Corp. Or someone else. Someone we haven't identified yet. The sound of typing came through the line. I'm pulling Hartwick's client list, cross-referencing with anyone connected to Vale's competitors. Adrian, if Sarah's in hiding, if they've gotten to her, we need to find her before they convince her to disappear permanently. Or before they make her disappear permanently. The implication hung heavy. You think they'd hurt her? I think we're dealing with people who planted surveillance cameras for months without getting caught, who orchestrated a corporate conspiracy involving multiple companies, who've stayed invisible while everyone else took the fall. Adrian's keyboard clicked faster. People like that don't leave loose ends. Elena started walking. She didn't know where, just away. We need help. I'm calling Marcus. He has contacts. Not Marcus, not the FBI, someone outside the system. Elena's mind worked through possibilities. Someone who has as much to lose as we do if this falls apart. Who? Rachel Morgan, the VP who testified against Douglas Harmon. If Sarah won't talk, maybe Rachel will go on record about everything. Not just Harmon's harassment, but the whole conspiracy. Morrison said circumstantial evidence isn't enough. Rachel worked directly with the board. She saw the financial manipulations, the fake contracts with Titan Corp subsidiaries. She has documentation Morrison doesn't know about because she was too scared to turn it over. Elena was moving faster now, purpose replacing panic. I talked to her 3 months ago. She told me she kept copies of everything. Insurance, she called it. Why didn't she give it to the FBI? Because she didn't trust them to protect her. But she might trust me. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Where is she? Last I heard, Colorado. She took a job at a startup after leaving Vale. Elena flagged down a taxi. I'm going to her. Elena, it's almost midnight. Colorado is 2 hours by plane. I'll be there by morning. She climbed into the cab. Can you book me a flight? This is insane. This is survival. Elena met the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. Airport, fast as you can. The driver nodded and pulled into traffic. Elena, Adrian's voice was raw. Be careful. Careful got us into this mess. I'm serious. If someone got to Sarah, they might... Then let them try. Elena's jaw set. I'm done being afraid. She hung up. The taxi wove through late-night streets, past buildings lit up like altars to money and power. Elena watched the city blur past and tried not to think about what she was walking into. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Flight booked. Red eye. Leaves in 90 minutes. I'm coming with you. Elena typed back, No, you stay here. Deal with the press. Keep the company from imploding. We're in this together. Exactly. Which is why we need to divide and conquer. You handle Vale, I'll handle Rachel. A long pause. Then, I don't like this. I don't either. But we're out of good options. Another pause. Then, come back to me. Elena stared at the words. 3 simple words that felt like a promise and a plea. She typed, I will. Then she deleted it and wrote instead, Try not to burn down the city while I'm gone. No promises. The taxi pulled up to the airport terminal. Elena paid and climbed out. Inside, the terminal was nearly empty. A few red-eye travelers slumped in chairs, security workers looking bored. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, too bright and sterile. Elena picked up her ticket from the kiosk, first class, because of course Adrian had booked first class, and made her way through security. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Ms. Cross? A woman's voice. Not Sarah. Someone older, controlled. Who is this? Someone who's been watching you very closely. Someone who thinks you're making a terrible mistake. Elena's blood went cold. How did you get this number? The same way I got Sarah Chen's lawyer on retainer. The same way I've gotten everything I wanted for the past 30 years. The woman's voice was smooth, cultured, utterly confident. Money and patience. What do you want? I want you to get on that plane, fly to Colorado, talk to Rachel Morgan. A soft laugh. I want you to do exactly what you're planning. Why? Because when you get there, you'll find something that will destroy Adrian Vale more completely than any testimony ever could. The woman paused. And you'll do it yourself. I don't know what you're talking about. Rachel Morgan didn't leave Vale Industries because of Douglas Harmon. She left because of Adrian. Because 2 years ago, she discovered something he'd been hiding, something that makes covering up a harassment complaint look like a parking ticket. Elena's heart hammered. You're lying. Am I? Then why did Adrian pay her $4 million in severance for a VP position? Why did he personally ensure she got a job across the country? Why has he been sending her monthly payments from an offshore account? I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me. Just ask Rachel. Ask her about Project Silo. Ask her what Adrian Vale did to protect it. Ask her how many lives he was willing to destroy to keep it secret. What's Project Silo? Something that will end him. And you're going to be the one to expose it. The woman's voice turned sharp. Because that's what good people do, isn't it, Ms. Cross? They tell the truth, no matter the cost. The line went dead. Elena stood frozen in the middle of the terminal, passengers flowing around her like water around a stone. Project Silo. Rachel Morgan, $4 million in severance. It couldn't be true. Adrian had secrets, everyone did. But something worth $4 million to hide? Her phone buzzed. Adrian calling. Elena stared at his name on the screen. She could answer. Ask him directly. Demand to know what Project Silo was. Or she could get on the plane, find Rachel, get answers that weren't filtered through Adrian's carefully constructed explanations. The boarding call came over the speaker, last call for her flight. Elena walked to the gate. She didn't answer Adrian's call. The plane was half empty. Elena took her window seat and watched the ground crew load baggage, trying to quiet her racing mind. Project Silo. What could be worth hiding so completely? What could be worse than covering up harassment? The seat beside her remained empty until the last possible moment. Then a man in an expensive suit slid into it, smelling of cologne and privilege. He nodded at Elena. Business or pleasure? Neither. Elena turned toward the window. Ah, running from something then. She looked at him sharply. He smiled. It's always one of those three. Business, pleasure, running. He settled into his seat. I'm Robert Chen, by the way, and before you ask, yes, Sarah is my sister. Elena's blood turned to ice. Robert's smile widened. Surprised? You shouldn't be. You really think it was coincidence that she happened to be in that garage at the exact moment you and Vale emerged? That her lawyer, the best in the country, just happened to be available on a Sunday night? What do you want? Want? Nothing. Robert adjusted his cufflinks. I already have everything I need. Sarah's testimony is worthless now. The FBI's case is dead. And you're about to destroy Adrian Vale yourself. I'm not destroying him? Please. You're flying to Colorado to talk to Rachel Morgan, a woman who has documentation of every illegal thing Adrian's ever done, including Project Silo. Robert leaned closer. Do you even know what that is? Elena's throat was tight. No. It's beautiful, really. Elegant. The kind of scheme only someone as brilliant as Adrian Vale could orchestrate. Robert's eyes gleamed. He's been siphoning money from Vale Industries for 3 years. Billions. Funneled through shell corporations and offshore accounts, all leading to a private vault, the Silo, where he's been building his exit strategy. That's impossible. The board would notice. The board was his cover. He made them look corrupt so no one would look too closely at his own finances. Douglas Harmon, a useful scapegoat. The Titan Core conspiracy? Manufactured to create a smokescreen. Robert sat back satisfied. Sarah was never blackmailing him about harassment. She was blackmailing him about the money. And he paid her to stay quiet because exposing the truth would land him in federal prison for the rest of his life. Elena couldn't breathe. You're lying. All of this is... Rachel has the proof. Bank statements, transfer records, the whole beautiful scheme laid out in spreadsheets. Robert smiled. And when you see it, when you realize the man you've been defending is worse than everyone he accused, you'll do the right thing. You'll turn him in. Why are you telling me this? Because Adrian Vale destroyed my family, my sister's career, her reputation, her life. Robert's smile vanished. replaced by something cold and sharp. And I want him to know it was someone he trusted who brought him down. Someone he loved. The plane began to taxi. Elena's mind spun. Project Silo. Billions in stolen money. Rachel Morgan with proof. It couldn't be true, but what if it was? You're going to have the choice when you land, Robert said quietly. Protect the man you think you know, or expose the criminal he actually is. Choose wisely, Ms. Cross. Your integrity depends on it. The plane lifted into the night sky. Elena pressed her forehead against the cold window and tried to think. Everything Robert said aligned with the facts. Adrian's obsessive secrecy, the massive severance payment to Rachel, the offshore accounts Marcus had found during the investigation. But it contradicted everything she thought she knew about Adrian. His dedication to the company, his willingness to sacrifice everything to expose the board's corruption, unless that had all been theater, a performance to hide the real crime. Her phone buzzed. Still on airplane mode, it showed cached messages from before takeoff. Adrian, why aren't you answering? Adrian, Elena, talk to me. Adrian, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're afraid of, we can figure it out together. Adrian, please. Elena turned off the phone completely. 2 hours later, the plane landed in Denver. Elena made her way through the terminal in a fog, rented a car, drove north toward Boulder, where Rachel Morgan had relocated. Dawn was breaking as she pulled up to a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing like the luxury Rachel could have afforded on $4 million. Maybe because she'd never received $4 million. Maybe because Robert Chen was lying about everything. Elena sat in the rental car and stared at the house. This was it, the moment of truth. She could knock on that door and ask Rachel about Project Silo, or she could drive away, get back on a plane, pretend this conversation never happened. She got out of the car. The walk to the front door felt like miles. Elena knocked, footsteps inside. Then the door opened. Rachel Morgan looked older than Elena remembered. Tired. She wore pajamas and held a coffee cup, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. Elena? Rachel's eyes widened. What are you doing here? I need to ask you about Adrian Vale. Rachel's face went pale. I can't. I signed an NDA. I need to know about Project Silo. The coffee cup slipped from Rachel's fingers. It shattered on the floor, hot liquid splashing across tile. Rachel stared at the mess, then at Elena, then back at the mess. Who told you about that? Her voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? It matters if they're trying to destroy him. Are they lying? Rachel's eyes filled with tears. No, they're not lying. The world tilted. Elena grabbed the doorframe. Tell me, all of it. Rachel looked past Elena toward the street, checking for surveillance, maybe, or gathering courage. Come inside, she said finally. Elena followed her in. Rachel's house was simple, clean, the kind of place someone lived when they were trying to disappear. She didn't bother cleaning up the broken cup, just stepped over it and led Elena to a small office. I kept copies, Rachel said, pulling a file box from a closet. Even though the NDA said I couldn't, even though Adrian paid me to forget. How much did he pay you? Did he? $4 million, transferred in installments over 2 years. Rachel set the box on the desk. I didn't want to take it, but he said if I didn't, other people would get hurt. People who didn't deserve to be dragged into his mistakes. What mistakes? Rachel opened the box. Inside were printouts, bank statements, transfer records, emails. Exactly like Robert had described. 3 years ago, Vale Industries was failing, Rachel began. Not publicly, but internally we were hemorrhaging money. Bad investments, failed products. Adrian was desperate to keep it afloat. So he embezzled? No, he didn't steal from the company. He stole for it. Rachel pulled out a spreadsheet. Look at the dates. Every transfer out was matched by a larger transfer in. Different source accounts, different banks, but always more coming in than going out. Elena scanned the numbers. Rachel was right. The pattern was clear. I don't understand. Adrian's family money. His inheritance. $3 billion from his father's estate. Rachel's voice was flat. He was supposed to receive it when he turned 35, but Vale was going under. So he made a deal with the executor, his uncle. Early access in exchange for absolute secrecy. Why secrecy? Because the inheritance came with conditions. Adrian's father hated the tech industry, hated what Adrian was building. The will specifically prohibited using the family money for Vale Industries. Rachel met Elena's eyes. If anyone found out Adrian was funneling his inheritance into the company, the executor would have been obligated to revoke the entire estate. $3 billion gone, and Vale would have collapsed anyway. Elena's mind raced. So Project Siloed was a shell game, making it look like the money came from investors and strategic partners when it was really Adrian's own inheritance. He created false trails, fake companies, offshore accounts. Rachel's laugh was bitter. He committed a dozen different types of fraud, all to save a company that was already dying. But the company didn't die. Vale is worth $15 billion now, because Adrian bet everything and won. The inheritance money stabilized us, bought time to develop products that actually worked. By the time the board realized how close we'd come to bankruptcy, we were profitable again. Rachel closed the box. And Adrian never told anyone, not the board, not the investors, not the FBI when they started investigating. Elena sank into a chair. Why did you leave? Because I found out. Accidentally. I was auditing accounts for a routine report and saw patterns that didn't make sense. When I asked Adrian about it, he told me everything. Rachel's voice cracked. He begged me to stay quiet, said if the truth came out, thousands of employees would lose their jobs. Investors would lose billions. The whole company would implode. So he paid you to stay quiet. He paid me to leave, to start over somewhere the pressure couldn't touch me. Rachel wiped her eyes. I took the money because he was right. Exposing him would destroy innocent people. But I kept the records because I thought someday someone might need the truth. Elena stared at the box, at the evidence of Adrian's crimes, at the proof that everything Robert Chen had said was true. Why are you showing me this now? Because you're here. Because someone told you to come looking. Rachel's gaze was steady. And because you deserve to know who you're protecting before you sacrifice everything for him. Elena's phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on in the car. Adrian, please tell me you're okay. Adrian, I know you're in Colorado. I know you're with Rachel. Adrian, whatever she's telling you, let me explain. Adrian, Elena, please, just call me. Her hand shook as she read the messages. Rachel watched her. What are you going to do? I don't know. The FBI will offer you immunity if you turn him in. They're desperate for evidence that will stick. This would do it. Rachel gestured to the box. You'd be a hero, the whistleblower who took down a corrupt billionaire. And Adrian would spend the next 20 years in federal prison. Elena closed her eyes. She could see it all playing out. The arrest, the trial, the media frenzy. Adrian in handcuffs, his empire crumbling, his name destroyed. And her, the woman who'd loved him enough to destroy him. He saved the company, Elena said quietly. Thousands of jobs, billions in value. He did it illegally, but nothing. The law doesn't care about good intentions. Rachel's voice hardened. He committed fraud, multiple felonies. If this were anyone else, would you hesitate? Elena opened her eyes. No. Then why hesitate now? Because Elena stopped, started again. Because I don't know if exposing him makes me principled or vindictive. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or just punishing him for dragging me into this mess. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Elena stood, her legs unsteady. I need time to think, to... Her phone rang. Not Adrian this time. Director Morrison. Elena answered. Yes? Ms. Cross, where are you? Colorado, following a lead. Well, your lead just became critical. We arrested Robert Chen an hour ago. Turns out he's been orchestrating this entire conspiracy. Not Douglas Harmon, not Titan Corp. Robert Chen, using his sister as a pawn and everyone else as cover. Elena's vision blurred. What? He's been planning this for 3 years, ever since Adrian Vale fired his sister. He wanted revenge, so he manufactured evidence of a conspiracy, planted the cameras, fed information to Harmon and Titan Corp to make them look guilty, all while positioning himself to destroy Vale's reputation and take over Vale Industries. That's, how do you know? Because he confessed, bragged about it, actually, thought he'd won. Morrison's voice was grim. He planted bugs on your phone, Ms. Cross, and veils. He's been listening to every conversation, following your movements, feeding you information designed to turn you against Vale. Elena's stomach dropped. The call. On my way to the airport, the woman who told me about Project Silo, an actress, paid by Robert Chen to convince you to go to Colorado, to push you into a position where you'd have to choose between Vale and your principles. Morrison paused. He bet you'd choose principles, and he was counting on it destroying you both. Elena looked at Rachel, at the box of evidence. Is Project Silo real? She asked. We're looking into it, but Ms. Cross, even if it is real, even if Vale broke laws to save his company, Robert Chen's manipulation doesn't change what you found. You still have to decide what to do with that information. Morrison hung up. Rachel was watching her. You okay? No. Elena sat down hard. Robert Chen orchestrated everything, the blackmail, the conspiracy. He manipulated his own sister, manipulated me. But the evidence is still real. I know. So what are you going to do? Elena stared at the box, at 3 years of fraud documented in meticulous detail, at the proof that Adrian Vale had committed crimes that would send him to prison. And she realized something. Robert Chen had been right about one thing. She did have to choose, protect Adrian or expose the truth, save the man she loved or maintain her integrity. But maybe those weren't the only options. Maybe there was a third path. Elena pulled out her phone and called Adrian. He answered before the first ring finished. Elena, I'm in Rachel Morgan's house. I've seen the evidence of Project Silo. I know what you did. Silence. And? His voice was barely audible. And I need you to turn yourself in. What? You broke the law, multiple laws. You committed fraud to save Vale Industries. Elena's voice was steady, clear. You need to face the consequences, publicly, voluntarily, before the FBI forces your hand. Elena, if I do that, you'll probably go to prison. Yes, but you'll do it on your terms, and you'll protect everyone else who could get dragged down with you. She looked at Rachel, including the people who helped you, who stayed quiet because you asked them to. Rachel's eyes widened. You want me to confess, Adrian said slowly, to everything. I want you to stop hiding, stop manipulating, stop trying to control every outcome. Elena's throat tightened. I want you to trust that the truth, messy and complicated as it is worth more than any lie you could tell to protect yourself. Another long silence. You know what this means, Adrian said finally. For us. I know. I'll lose everything, the company, my freedom, you. You'll lose the things you were willing to commit crimes to keep. That's different than losing everything. Elena blinked back tears. But yeah, you'll probably lose me too. Probably? I can't. I don't know if I can be with someone who's in prison, if I can wait years for something that might not exist anymore when you get out. Her voice cracked. I don't know if I'm that strong. You're the strongest person I know. Then believe me when I say this is the only way forward. Not because I'm trying to punish you, not because I don't care, but because if you don't do this, if you keep running and hiding and justifying, you'll never be someone I can trust, and I deserve someone I can trust. She heard Adrian's breath catch. You're right, he said finally. You deserve better than what I've been. So be better. By going to prison? By telling the truth, for once, without calculating the cost first. Another pause, then, okay. Okay? I'll do it. I'll call Morrison, schedule a meeting, lay out everything. Adrian's laugh was hollow. My lawyers are going to kill me. Probably. Elena, yeah? I love you. I need you to know that. Whatever happens next, whatever consequences come from this, I love you. And I'm sorry I made you choose between me and your principles. Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. I'm sorry too. For what? For not being able to choose you. She hung up before he could respond. Rachel handed her a tissue. That was the hardest thing you've ever done. Yeah? Elena wiped her eyes. Yeah, it was. What happens now? Now? Elena looked at the box of evidence. Now we get this to the FBI, along with your full testimony, everything Adrian did, why he did it, who else was involved. You want me to testify against him? I want you to tell the truth, the whole truth, not the version Adrian paid you to keep quiet, not the version that protects him, just what actually happened. Rachel's hands shook. I could lose the money, the severance. If they decide I was complicit, then you lose it, and you start over, again. Elena stood. But at least you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Rachel stared at the box for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, let's do this. They loaded the evidence into Elena's rental car, drove to the Denver FBI field office, spent 6 hours giving statements while agents cross-referenced every document, every transaction, every email. By the time they finished, it was dark again. Elena's phone had died hours ago. She borrowed a charger from an agent and powered it on. 73 missed calls, most from Adrian, some from reporters, a few from numbers she didn't recognize, and one voicemail from Marcus. She listened to it. Miss Cross, Marcus's voice was strained. I don't know if you've seen the news, but Adrian, he did what you asked, called a press conference, confessed to everything, Project Silo, the fraud, all of it. A pause. The FBI arrested him an hour ago. He's being held pending arraignment. His lawyers say he'll probably make bail, but the message cut off. Elena stood in the FBI parking lot, phone pressed to her ear, and felt the ground give way beneath her feet. Adrian was in custody because she'd told him to confess, because she'd chosen truth over love. She'd done the right thing. So why did it feel like dying? Another message played automatically, this one from a number she didn't recognize. Elena Cross, a man's voice, he's smooth, professional. This is Gerald Hartwick. I represent Sarah Chen. My client would like to meet with you. Tonight, there's something you need to know about Robert Chen's arrest, something the FBI isn't telling you. The message ended with an address. A warehouse on the outskirts of Denver. Elena stared at the phone. This was a trap. Obviously. Hartwick worked for Robert Chen, or whoever was really pulling the strings. She should go back inside, tell Morrison, let the FBI handle it. Instead, she got in her car and drove to the address. The warehouse was exactly what she expected. Dark, isolated, the kind of place bad decisions went to become disasters. Elena parked and sat in the rental car, engine running, phone in hand. She could still leave. Should leave. But something Hartwick said nagged at her. Something the FBI isn't telling you. What weren't they telling her? She turned off the engine, walked to the warehouse door. It was unlocked. Inside, a single light illuminated the center of the empty space, and beneath it, sitting in a folding chair, was Sarah Chen. No lawyer, no guards, just Sarah, looking small and terrified. You came, Sarah said. Elena stopped 20 feet away. Where's Hartwick? Gone. He didn't set this up, I did. Sarah stood slowly. I needed to see you, to tell you the truth before it's too late. Too late for what? Robert didn't orchestrate the conspiracy. I mean, he helped, he funded it, but he wasn't the one who came up with the plan. Sarah's voice shook. I was. Elena's blood went cold. What? It was my idea, all of it. The cameras, the blackmail, getting Robert involved. Sarah stepped into the light. Robert wanted revenge for what happened to me. But I wanted something else. What? I wanted Adrian to suffer the way I suffered, to lose everything, to know what it feels like when the person you trusted most betrays you. He covered up harassment. He did more than that. Sarah's eyes blazed. He knew about Douglas, about what he was doing to me and the others. And he didn't just cover it up. He participated. The words hit like bullets. What are you talking about? Adrian Vale isn't the victim in this story, Elena. He's the predator. Douglas was his mentor, his friend. And when I told Adrian what Douglas did, when I showed him the messages, the evidence, he laughed. Sarah's voice broke. He told me I should be flattered, that powerful men like Douglas didn't waste time on women who weren't worth it. Elena couldn't breathe. You're lying. I have recordings of Adrian saying those exact words, of him telling me to keep quiet or he'd destroy my career. Sarah pulled out her phone. Want to hear them? No. But Sarah was already playing the audio. Adrian's voice filled the warehouse, calm, cold, saying words that made Elena's stomach turn. "You're overreacting, Sarah. Douglas is harmless. A little inappropriate, maybe, but harmless. If you make this public, you'll ruin your own reputation, not his. But he assaulted me. He hit on you. There's a difference. And honestly, if you can't handle that level of attention, corporate life isn't for you." The recording ended. Elena's legs gave out. She caught herself against a support beam. That can't be It's from 2 years ago, 6 months before I was fired, before Adrian suddenly saw the light and started supporting harassment victims. Sarah's laugh was broken. "He changed his story because I threatened to go public, because Rachel Morgan found out and confronted him, because he realized the company would suffer if the truth came out. So you orchestrated this entire conspiracy to, what, make him look bad? To expose him, to show the world who he really is." Sarah stepped closer. "But then you happened. Sweet, principled Elena Cross, who believed in him, who made him want to be better, and I realized something." "What?" "The best way to destroy Adrian Vale wasn't to expose his crimes. It was to make you do it." Sarah smiled. "So I played the victim, let you think I was being manipulated by Robert, fed you just enough truth about Project Silo to make you question everything, and then I waited for you to make the choice that would destroy him." Elena's vision blurred. "You used me. I gave you the truth. What you did with it was your choice. The truth? You manipulated every piece of evidence, every conversation, but the core facts are real. Adrian committed fraud. He covered up harassment. He's not the man you think he is." Sarah's voice hardened. "And now he's in federal custody because you told him to confess, because you chose integrity over love. Just like I knew you would." Elena's hands clenched into fists. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know. When Adrian goes to prison, when his company collapses, when his name becomes synonymous with corruption, I want you to remember that you helped make it happen." Sarah's smile widened. "I want you to live with that, the way I've had to live with what he did to me." Footsteps echoed through the warehouse. FBI agents emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn. "Sarah Chen, you're under arrest." Morrison's voice rang out. "Conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, wiretapping. We've been recording this entire conversation." Sarah's face went white. How?" Elena pulled a wire from under her shirt. "I called Morrison before I came, told him about Hartwick's message. He thought it might be a trap." "You set me up. I gave you a choice. Tell the truth or keep lying. You chose lying." Elena's voice was ice. "What you did with it was your choice." Morrison's agents moved in. Sarah screamed, thrashing against the handcuffs, hurling accusations and threats that echoed off the empty walls. Elena watched them take her away. Then she collapsed. Morrison caught her before she hit the ground. "Easy. You're okay. It's over." "Is it?" Elena's voice was hollow. "Adrian's still in custody. The company's still imploding. And the recording Sarah played. We'll need to verify its authenticity, but it's real." Elena's throat closed. "I could hear it, the way he talks, his voice. People change. Do they? Or do they just get better at hiding who they really are?" Morrison didn't have an answer. He drove Elena back to the FBI office, got her coffee, took her statement about Sarah's confession. By the time they finished, it was almost dawn again. Elena had been awake for 48 hours straight. Her eyes burned. Her body ached. Her mind felt like static. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we sort through everything, figure out what's real and what was manipulation." Morrison rubbed his face. "This is the most convoluted case I've seen in 20 years. Conspiracies within conspiracies. Everyone lying about something. And Adrian? His confession complicates things. If Project Silo is real, he's still guilty of fraud. But if Sarah fabricated evidence, coerced testimony, manipulated the investigation," Morrison shook his head, "could take months to untangle. So he stays in custody. Until arraignment, his lawyers will argue for bail. Given his cooperation, he'll probably get it." Morrison looked at Elena. "You should go see him." "I can't. Ms. Cross, I can't look at him right now. I can't." Her voice broke. I don't know if I destroyed an innocent man or exposed a guilty one. I don't know if Sarah was lying about the recording or if Adrian was lying about changing. I don't know anything anymore. Morrison was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I've been doing this job for 30 years, and I've learned one thing. What's that? The truth is messy. It's never as simple as good guys and bad guys. Most people are both. They make terrible choices for understandable reasons. They hurt people while trying to protect them. They lie to themselves until they believe their own bullshit. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be true. Morrison stood. Go home. Get some sleep. Figure out what you believe when your brain isn't running on fumes and adrenaline. Elena nodded numbly. Morrison arranged a car to take her to the airport. The drive passed in a blur. She boarded a plane to Harmon City, sat in the window seat, and stared at nothing. The man next to her tried to make conversation. She ignored him. At some point, she fell asleep. When she woke, the plane was landing. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You made the right choice, even if it doesn't feel like it. Rachel. Another text, this one from Marcus. Vale made bail. He's at the penthouse. Said to tell you he understands if you don't want to see him, but he's there if you change your mind. And finally, one from Adrian. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better than what I gave you, better than who I was. I hope someday you can forgive me, not for my sake, for yours, because you shouldn't have to carry this weight. Elena read the message 3 times. Then she deleted it, got off the plane, drove to her apartment, the real one, not the safe house. Reporters were gone. The media had moved on to other scandals. She unlocked her door and stepped inside. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Elena set down her bag, walked to the window, looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Adrian was free on bail, waiting for trial, probably not sleeping any better than she was. Somewhere, Sarah was in custody, facing charges for the conspiracy she'd orchestrated. Somewhere, Robert Chen was in prison, his revenge having backfired spectacularly. And here, Elena Cross stood alone in her apartment, trying to figure out who she was now that everything she thought she knew had been stripped away. Her phone rang. Adrienne's name on the screen. Elena stared at it. This was the choice. The real one. Answer and try to salvage something from the wreckage. Or let it ring and walk away from everything. The lies, the manipulation, the impossible love that had nearly destroyed them both. The phone kept ringing. Elena's finger hovered over the answer button. And then, Warbramki. Elena answered the phone. Don't hang up. Adrian's voice was raw, stripped of its usual control. Please, just don't hang up. She pressed the phone against her ear and said nothing. Outside her window, the city pulsed with light and movement, indifferent to the silence crackling between them. I heard about Sarah, Adrian continued. Morrison called, said you wore a wire, that she confessed to orchestrating everything. She played me a recording. Elena's voice came out flat. Dead. Of you, 2 years ago, telling her Douglas Harmon was harmless, that she was overreacting. Silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. It's real, Adrian said finally. The recording. I said those things. Elena's knees buckled. She caught herself against the window frame, her forehead pressed to the cold glass. I was a different person then, he continued. Younger, stupider, more concerned with protecting the company than... Don't! The word came out sharp. Don't give me the redemption speech. I can't hear that right now. Then what can I say? Nothing. There's nothing you can say that changes what you did. Elena's reflection stared back at her, hollow-eyed and unrecognizable. You told a woman who was assaulted that she should be flattered. You protected a predator. I know what I did. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've spent 2 years rewriting history, convincing yourself you were always the good guy who just made one mistake. Her voice cracked. But that recording shows exactly who you were, and maybe who you still are. You're right. The admission landed like a blow. What? You're right. I've been lying to myself, telling myself I changed because I wanted to believe it. But the truth is, Adrian's breath shook. The truth is, I'm still the same person who said those things to Sarah. I'm just better at hiding it now. Elena slid down the wall, her legs giving out completely. She landed hard on the floor, phone still pressed to her ear. Then why did you confess? She asked. Why turn yourself in if you're still... Because you asked me to, because for the first time in my life, someone believed I could be better than I was. And I didn't want to prove you wrong. A pause. But I did anyway, didn't I? I don't know. Elena closed her eyes. I don't know anything anymore. I'm at the penthouse. Bail hearing was this morning. They let me out on 15 million bond. His laugh was hollow. Apparently I'm not a flight risk when I've already confessed to everything. Good for you. Elena, what do you want from me, Adrian? Forgiveness? Absolution? Some kind of blessing that says it's okay you destroyed people's lives as long as you feel bad about it now? I want you to look me in the eye and tell me you're done. That this is over. That you can't... His voice broke. I need to hear you say it, because if there's any chance, any possibility that we can... There isn't. The words fell like stones. More silence. Then... Okay. Okay? You said what you needed to say. I heard it. I'm letting you go. Adrian's voice steadied, that familiar control sliding back into place. I won't call again. Won't show up at your door. Won't make this harder than it already is. Just like that? What else is there? You've made your choice. I respect it. Something in Elena's chest twisted. This was what she wanted. Clean break. No more complications. So why did it feel like suffocating? The trial starts in 6 weeks, Adrian continued. My lawyers think they can get the charges reduced, maybe avoid prison time, probation and fines instead. Because of Sarah's manipulation? Because the prosecution's case is built on evidence that might have been fabricated, and because I cooperated fully, turned over everything. He exhaled. But even if I avoid prison, the company's done. Board's voting tomorrow to remove me as CEO. Stock's already dropped 40%. Investors are fleeing. So you're losing everything. Everything except my freedom, which is more than I deserve. Elena's throat tightened. Adrian, thank you for believing I could be better, even if I wasn't. A pause. Goodbye, Elena. He hung up. Elena sat on her apartment floor, phone still pressed to her ear, listening to dead air. Her hands were shaking, her chest felt hollow. This was the right choice. The only choice. So why did it feel like dying? Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. He's not okay, just so you know. In case you were wondering. Elena stared at the message, then typed back. Not my problem anymore. She deleted it before sending. Instead, she wrote, take care of him. Marcus replied immediately. That's your job. Not anymore. Bullshit. You're just scared. Elena threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen cracking but still functional. Scared. Yes. She was terrified. Of loving someone who'd said those things. Of staying with someone who might say them again. Of choosing wrong and having to live with the consequences. But more than that, she was exhausted. 2 weeks. That's all it had been since Adrian kissed her in front of 300 people. 14 days. And in that time, her entire life had imploded. Her job, gone. Her privacy, destroyed. Her faith in her own judgment, shattered. And for what? For a man who'd confessed to fraud and covered up assault? No. Not just for him. For the truth. For integrity. For believing that doing the right thing mattered even when it cost everything. Elena pulled herself off the floor, walked to the bathroom, looked at her reflection in the mirror. She barely recognized herself. Dark circles under bloodshot eyes, hair tangled, lips chapped. She looked like someone who'd survived a war. Maybe she had. Her phone rang again. Still on the floor where she'd thrown it. Elena ignored it. It kept ringing. She walked over, ready to turn it off completely when she saw the caller ID. Director Morrison. She answered. What now? We have a problem. A big one. Morrison's voice was tight. How fast can you get to the federal courthouse? Why? Because Sarah Chen's lawyer just filed an emergency motion. Claims the wire you wore was illegal. That we coerced your cooperation. That everything she said in that warehouse is inadmissible. Elena's stomach dropped. I came to you. You didn't coerce anything. I know that. You know that. But Gerald Hartwick is very good at making juries doubt what they know. Morrison exhaled sharply. He's arguing entrapment. Says you lured Sarah to that warehouse under false pretenses, that we used you as an agent without proper authorization. Is that true? Technically, it's complicated. We should have done more paperwork before sending you in wired. A pause. The judge is hearing arguments in 2 hours. I need you there to testify about what happened. Exactly what happened. No embellishments, no assumptions, just facts. And if the judge rules in Sarah's favor, then her confession gets thrown out. And without it, we don't have enough to charge her with conspiracy. She walks. What about Adrian's confession? About Project Silo? Still stands. But if Sarah walks, the narrative shifts. Suddenly she's the victim again. And Vale's the corrupt billionaire who tried to frame her to cover his own crimes. Morrison's voice hardened. We need that confession to stick, which means we need you. Elena looked at herself in the mirror again, exhausted, broken, done. I'll be there, she said. Thank you. And Ms. Cross, wear something professional. Hartwick will try to paint you as Vale's accomplice. Don't give him ammunition. Morrison hung up. Elena stood in her apartment and tried to remember what professional looked like, what normal looked like, what life looked like before everything burned down. She couldn't. 90 minutes later, Elena walked into the federal courthouse wearing the same suit she'd worn to work at Vale Industries. It felt like a costume from another life. The security checkpoint took forever. Metal detector, bag search, ID verification. By the time she made it to the courtroom, the hearing had already started. She slipped into the back row. At the defense table, Sarah Chen sat between Gerald Hartwick and another lawyer Elena didn't recognize. Sarah looked small, fragile, nothing like the woman who'd confessed to orchestrating a multi-layered conspiracy less than 48 hours ago. Hartwick was already speaking, his voice smooth and authoritative. Your Honor, this entire case is built on evidence obtained through coercion and entrapment. Ms. Cross approached my client under false pretenses, wearing a wire provided by the FBI without my client's knowledge or consent. Mr. Hartwick, the judge interrupted. She was older, black, with eyes that missed nothing. Ms. Chen agreed to meet with Ms. Cross voluntarily, did she not? Under duress, Your Honor. Ms. Cross had just destroyed Ms. Chen's brother's life, had participated in a conspiracy to frame him for crimes he didn't commit. Objection! The prosecutor, a woman Elena recognized from the FBI briefings, stood. Robert Chen confessed to orchestrating the surveillance and blackmail scheme. There was no framing involved. So the government claims. But without my client's testimony, which was obtained illegally, that confession falls apart. Hartwick smiled. Mr. Chen was manipulated by FBI agents into confessing to crimes they themselves orchestrated. The judge's expression didn't change. That's a serious allegation, Mr. Hartwick. It's a serious case, Your Honor. The FBI has been operating outside the bounds of legal authority since this investigation began, using civilians as informants without proper oversight, conducting surveillance without warrants, and now entrapping my client into a false confession. Ms. Cross wasn't an informant, the prosecutor argued. She was a concerned citizen who contacted law enforcement about a potential crime. A concerned citizen who happened to be romantically involved with the target of this investigation, who had every reason to want my client silenced, who participated in a scheme to— Enough. The judge's voice cut through the argument. I'll hear from Ms. Cross directly. Bailiff, call her to the stand. Elena's heart hammered. She stood on shaking legs and walked to the witness stand. The bailiff swore her in. The judge watched her with those sharp, assessing eyes. Ms. Cross, the judge began, tell me, in your own words, what happened the night you met with Sarah Chen at the warehouse? Elena took a breath. I received a voicemail from Mr. Hartwick. He said Sarah wanted to meet with me, that there was something I needed to know about Robert Chen's arrest. And you believe this was legitimate? I didn't know. But I thought if there was information that could help the investigation, I should find out what it was. So you contacted the FBI? Yes. Director Morrison. I told him about the message. He thought it might be a trap. Suggested I wear a wire in case Sarah said anything incriminating. Did he order you to wear the wire? No, he offered. I agreed. Why? Elena met the judge's eyes. Because I'd spent 2 weeks being lied to, manipulated, used, and I was tired of not knowing what was real. The wire felt like insurance, proof of whatever happened. The judge nodded slowly. And when you arrived at the warehouse? Sarah was alone. She told me she'd orchestrated the entire conspiracy, that she wanted revenge against Adrian Vale for what he'd done to her, that she'd manipulated me into destroying him. Did you feel threatened? No, I felt... Elena searched for the word. Disgusted. She was proud of it, proud of using her own trauma as a weapon to hurt other people. Objection, Hartwick stood. Speculation about my client's emotional state. Sustained. Miss Cross, stick to facts, please. Elena nodded. She confessed to everything, the cameras, the blackmail, working with her brother to frame the board members and Titan Corp. She wanted me to know that I'd helped destroy Adrian, that I'd done exactly what she wanted. And you recorded all of this? Yes. At the FBI's direction? At my own direction. The FBI just provided the equipment. Hartwick stood again. Your Honor, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. The judge gestured. Proceed. Hartwick approached the stand like a predator. His smile was polite, his eyes were cold. Ms. Cross, you testified that you weren't romantically involved with Adrian Vale. Is that correct? I didn't testify to that. Then, are you romantically involved with him? I was. I'm not anymore. When did this relationship end? 2 days ago? Convenient timing, right after you helped the FBI build a case against him. Hartwick's smile widened. Tell me, Ms. Cross, did you wear a wire when you spoke with Mr. Vale as well? No. But you did provide information about your private conversations to the FBI, didn't you? When it was relevant to the investigation, yes. So you betrayed his confidence, shared intimate details of your relationship with federal agents. Hartwick paused. Would you say you were acting as an FBI informant? I was acting as someone who cared about the truth. The truth? Interesting. Hartwick pulled out a document. According to your own statement, you discovered evidence of Mr. Vale's fraud in Colorado. Evidence you then turned over to the FBI. Evidence that directly led to his arrest. That's correct? And you did this despite being in a relationship with him at the time? Yes. Despite loving him? Elena's throat tightened. Yes. So you loved him, but you destroyed him anyway. Hartwick's voice was soft, deadly. Would you say you have a pattern of turning on people you claim to care about? Objection! The prosecutor was on her feet. Irrelevant and inflammatory. Your Honor, I'm establishing the witness's credibility, her willingness to manipulate personal relationships for sustained. Move on, Mr. Hartwick. But the damage was done. Elena could feel the judge's gaze on her, reassessing. Hartwick stepped closer to the stand. Ms. Cross, when you went to that warehouse, did you intend to help Sarah Chen? I intended to find out the truth. But you already believed she was guilty, didn't you? You'd already decided she was the villain in this story. I didn't decide anything. The evidence provided by the FBI. The same FBI that had been investigating Mr. Vale. The same FBI that needed a conviction to justify months of work. Hartwick's smile turned sharp. Tell me, Ms. Cross, how much did they pay you to betray the man you loved? Nobody paid me anything. Then why did you do it? Why turn on him? Why help destroy his company, his reputation, his life? Because he asked me to. The words burst out before Elena could stop them. Because he called me and I told him the truth about what he'd done and he chose to confess. He chose to take responsibility. I didn't force him. I didn't manipulate him. I gave him a choice and he made it. The courtroom went silent. Hartwick's expression didn't change. So you admit you influenced his decision to confess? That's not an... You told him what you'd found. You pressured him to turn himself in. And when he did, you immediately provided that information to the FBI. Hartwick turned to the judge, said, Your Honor, this witness has demonstrated a clear pattern of manipulation, using personal relationships to gather evidence, coercing confessions, working hand in hand with federal agents to entrap my client. I didn't entrap anyone. Elena's voice shook. Sarah confessed because she wanted me to know. She was proud of what she'd done. She wanted me to suffer, Or she was scared, alone, facing a woman who'd just helped destroy her brother, who was wearing a wire, who was working with the FBI. Hartwick's voice rose. My client said whatever she thought she needed to say to survive that encounter. That's not a confession. That's self-preservation under duress. The judge held up a hand. That's enough. I'll review the recording and the circumstances. But Mr. Hartwick, you've made your point. She looked at Elena. Ms. Cross, you're dismissed. Elena stood on shaking legs. She walked back to her seat, feeling every eye in the courtroom on her. The hearing continued for another hour. Arguments about warrants and probable cause and the limits of civilian cooperation with law enforcement. Elena stopped listening. She sat in the back row and watched the legal system dissect her choices, her relationships, her entire life. Finally, the judge called a recess. I'll issue my ruling by end of business tomorrow. This court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Elena stood to leave, but Morrison caught her arm in the hallway. That could have gone better, he said. Could have gone worse, too. Not by much. Hartwick made you look like a scorned lover working with the FBI for revenge. Morrison's expression was grim. If the judge throws out Sarah's confession, this whole case collapses. Robert Chen's conviction gets overturned on appeal. Sarah walks, and Adrian Vale ends up being the only person who actually faces consequences. He confessed to crimes that might not have happened. If Sarah was lying about everything else, who's to say Project Silo is real? His lawyers will argue he confessed under duress, that you manipulated him. Morrison met her eyes. They'll paint him as the victim and you as the villain. And they might be right. Elena's vision blurred. I did what you asked. I wore the wire. I testified. I know, and I'm grateful. But the truth is, Morrison hesitated. The truth is we're all just doing the best we can with incomplete information. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it isn't. He walked away. Elena stood alone in the courthouse hallway. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, expecting more messages from reporters or lawyers or people she barely knew. Instead, it was from Adrian. I watched the hearing. You did good. Elena stared at the message. How did you? I'm still technically a defendant. I have access to court proceedings. A pause, indicated by the 3 dots. Then, Hartwick's an asshole. Don't let him get in your head. Too late. Elena, don't, please. I can't do this right now. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. Finally, okay, but for what it's worth, I don't blame you for any of this. You were right about everything, and I'm sorry I put you in a position where you had to choose between me and your principles. Stop apologizing. Why? Because it doesn't change anything. Sorry, doesn't fix this. I know, but maybe it's a start. Elena closed her eyes, leaned against the courthouse wall. Every muscle ached. Her head pounded. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten. I have to go, she typed. Where? Home. Away from this. I don't know. Can I see you? The question landed like a punch. No, please. Just once. Let you what? Explain again? Apologize again? Try to convince me that you're different now? Let me say goodbye properly. Not over the phone, not through text. The dots appeared again. You deserve better than that. Elena's hands shook. Where? The penthouse. Tonight. I'll have Marcus make sure we're alone. No cameras, no witnesses, just us. This is a bad idea. Probably. But when has that stopped us? Despite everything, the exhaustion, the pain, the absolute certainty that this would only make things worse, Elena found herself typing, What time? Whenever you're ready. Give me 2 hours, I'll be here. Elena shoved her phone in her pocket and walked out of the courthouse. The afternoon sun was too bright. The street was too loud. Everything felt wrong. She flagged down a taxi, gave the driver her apartment address, spent the ride staring out the window, trying to convince herself not to go to the penthouse. She failed. 2 hours later, Elena stood in front of Vale Tower, the building where this had all started, where Adrian had kissed her in front of everyone, where her carefully controlled life had detonated. The lobby was empty, no reporters, no employees, just marble and silence. She took the elevator to the penthouse. Her reflection in the polished doors looked like a ghost. The elevator opened directly into Adrian's apartment. He was standing at the window, silhouetted against the city lights. He didn't turn when she entered. "I thought you might change your mind," he said quietly. "I almost did." "But you're here." "I'm here." Adrian finally turned. He looked worse than she'd ever seen him, unshaven, eyes hollow. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair uncombed. He looked like he'd stopped trying. "You look terrible," Elena said. "Right back at you." Despite everything, she almost smiled. They stood across the room from each other. The space between them felt infinite. "I don't know how to do this," Adrian admitted. "How to say goodbye to you?" "Then don't say anything. Just," Elena's voice caught. "Just let me look at you so I can remember." "Remember what?" "What it felt like. Before everything went wrong. When I still believed—" She stopped, started again. "When I still believed you were someone I could trust." Adrian flinched. "I want to be that person. For you. I want it so badly I can barely breathe." "But you're not." "No, I'm not." He took a step closer. "I'm someone who said terrible things to a woman who was assaulted. Someone who committed fraud. Someone who spent his entire life prioritizing the company over people. So why confess? Why turn yourself in if you know you're going to lose everything?" "Because you asked me to, and because—" Adrian stopped 3 feet away, close enough that Elena could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. "Because I'm tired of being that person, even if it's too late to be anyone else." Elena's chest ached. "It's not too late, isn't it? I'm probably going to prison. Even if I don't, my reputation is destroyed. The company's gone. My entire life's work, erased." His smile was bitter. "Seems pretty late to me. You could rebuild. Could I? Or am I just fundamentally broken?" Adrian's gaze held hers. "You've seen the worst of me, Elena. The recording, the fraud, the selfishness. Can someone like that actually change? Or do they just learn to hide it better?" "I don't know. Honest answer. I appreciate that." He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I love you. I know I don't have the right to say that. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know you're the best thing that ever happened to me, even if I destroyed it." Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. Don't what? Don't make this harder than it already is. Then tell me what you want me to do. Tell me how to make this easier, and I'll do it. I want you to let me go. Really, let me go. Stop texting. Stop calling. Stop making me choose between loving you and being the person I need to be. Adrian's hand dropped. "Okay. Just like that? What else is there? You're right. Loving me costs too much, and you've already paid more than anyone should." He stepped back, putting distance between them. "I'll stay away. Completely. After tonight, you won't hear from me again." "Adrian, unless you change your mind. Unless someday, maybe years from now, you wake up and think, maybe I've done enough penance. Maybe I've changed enough. Maybe it's worth one more chance." His voice broke. "If that happens, you know where to find me." Elena wanted to say it would never happen, that she'd never change her mind, that this was truly over, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she crossed the space between them and kissed him, not gently, not sweetly, but fierce and desperate and angry, her hands fisted in his shirt, his arms wrapped around her like he was drowning and she was air. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "This doesn't change anything," Elena whispered. "I know. Tomorrow I'm still walking away. I know. But tonight," her voice shook, "tonight I need this. I need to remember what it felt like when I thought we could—" Adrian kissed her again, deeper this time, like he was trying to memorize her, like he knew this was goodbye. And maybe it was. They moved through the penthouse in a blur, hands and mouths and desperate touches, clothes hitting the floor, two people trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. Later, hours or minutes, Elena couldn't tell, they lay tangled together in Adrian's bed, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "I wish I'd met you differently," Adrian said into the darkness. "Not as your boss, not with all this power imbalance and complication, just as people." "Would it have been different?" "Maybe," Probably. I don't know. His arms tightened around her. But at least we would have had a chance. Elena closed her eyes. We had a chance. We just made the wrong choices. I made the wrong choices. You just got caught in the blast radius. Don't do that. Don't absolve me. I made choices too. I stayed. I let myself fall for you even knowing it was impossible. Her voice caught. I chose you over my career, over my privacy, over everything that made sense. Do you regret it? Yes. No, I don't know. Elena pulled away, sitting up. The sheet pooled around her waist. I regret that it ended like this, but I don't regret. She gestured between them. I don't regret feeling this, even if it destroyed everything. Adrian sat up too. His eyes were too bright in the darkness. What if... Don't. Whatever you're about to suggest, don't. Elena found her clothes, started dressing. This was goodbye. That's all it can be. Elena. I'm serious, Adrian. Tomorrow the judge rules on Sarah's confession. Either it stands and you might avoid prison, or it doesn't and everything falls apart. She pulled on her shirt with shaking hands. Either way, we're done. This, tonight, was closure. Nothing more. Is that what this felt like to you? Closure? Elena met his eyes. No, it felt like breaking my own heart on purpose. But I'm doing it anyway because the alternative is worse. What's the alternative? Staying, loving you, watching you destroy yourself, trying to be someone you're not. Or worse, watching you succeed and wondering if you're just better at lying now. She found her shoes. I can't do it. I can't spend my life questioning whether you've really changed or if you're just pretending. So you'd rather walk away? I'd rather have a life I can trust, even if it's lonely. Adrian stood. He was still naked, unselfconscious in a way that made Elena's chest ache. Then go. Before I do something stupid like beg you to stay. Elena walked to the door, hand on the knob, one step away from leaving forever. She turned back. Adrian stood in the middle of his bedroom, illuminated by city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. He looked lost, broken. Nothing like the man who'd kissed her 2 weeks ago. For what it's worth, Elena said quietly, I think you can change. I think you're trying. I just don't think I'm strong enough to watch it happen. You're the strongest person I know. Then believe me when I say this is me being strong, choosing myself, even when it hurts. She opened the door. Elena. She stopped but didn't turn around. If I do change, if 10 years from now I'm someone different, someone better, would you want to know? I don't know. Ask me in 10 years. How will I find you? If you've really changed, you'll figure it out. Elena walked out. The elevator descended 47 floors. By the time she reached the lobby, tears were streaming down her face. She walked out into the night, flagged down a taxi, gave the driver her address. Her phone buzzed. Adrian, thank you for giving me tonight, for everything. Elena stared at the message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally, she typed, Goodbye, Adrian. Then she blocked his number. The taxi drove through empty streets. Elena watched the city blur past and tried to remember how to breathe. This was the right choice. The only choice. So why did it feel like dying? Her phone buzzed again. Not Adrian this time. He couldn't reach her anymore. Director Morrison. Elena almost didn't answer, but some instinct made her pick up. Ms. Cross. Morrison's voice was tight, urgent. I need you to listen very carefully. Don't go home. Elena's blood went cold. What? Sarah Chen made bail 20 minutes ago. Her brother posted it. We don't know where she is, but... He paused. We found something at her lawyer's office. Documents, plans. She's not done, Elena. Whatever she's planning, it's not over. What kind of plans? The kind that involve your address, and a timeline marked for tonight. Morrison's voice hardened. Where are you right now? In a taxi. On my way home. Turn around. Now. Get to the nearest police station. I'm sending officers to your apartment. Morrison, what's in those documents? Photos of you, of Vale, time-stamped from today. A pause. She knows you were at the penthouse, and she's planning something. Elena's heart hammered. You think she's going to... I think she's desperate and dangerous and has nothing left to lose. So yes, I think she's capable of anything. The taxi driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Miss, you okay? Elena's mind raced. Take me to the nearest police station. Fast! The driver's eyes widened. You in trouble? Just drive. The taxi swerved into traffic. Elena's phone was pressed to her ear, Morrison's voice a steady anchor. Stay on the line, he said. Talk to me. Where are you? 10th Avenue, heading north. How far to the station? 3 blocks. You'll make it. But as the taxi turned onto 9th, Elena saw something that made her blood freeze. Sarah Chen, standing on the sidewalk, looking directly at the taxi, smiling. Morrison. What? Elena, what's happening? She's here. Sarah. She's... The taxi's back window exploded. Glass showered over Elena. She screamed, throwing herself down across the back seat. Get down! The driver shouted. Someone's shooting! Another shot. This one hit the rear driver's side tire. The taxi swerved wildly. Morrison's voice came through the phone, tinny and distant. Elena, talk to me. What's happening? But Elena couldn't answer. The taxi was spinning, hitting the curb, the world tumbling sideways. Metal screamed, glass shattered. Pain exploded through Elena's shoulder as they crashed into a lamppost. Then silence. Elena's ears rang. Blood dripped into her eyes. She couldn't tell if it was hers. The driver groaned in the front seat. You okay, miss? Yeah, I think so. Elena tried to move. Pain lanced through her shoulder. You? Been better. We need to... The passenger door was wrenched open. Sarah Chen stood there holding a gun. Hello, Elena, she said pleasantly. We need to talk. Elena stared at the gun in Sarah Chen's hand and felt something shift inside her. Not fear. She'd burned through fear days ago. Not panic, that belonged to a version of herself who still believed the world made sense. What she felt was clarity, cold, sharp, absolute clarity. Get out of the car, Sarah said. Her voice was steady, too steady. The voice of someone who'd already decided how this ended. Elena didn't move. You're going to shoot me in the middle of a street? With witnesses? What witnesses? Sarah gestured to the empty sidewalk. It's 3 a.m. This neighborhood's abandoned after dark, and even if someone did see, by the time they call the police, she smiled. Well, it'll be too late. The taxi driver groaned again. He was conscious but dazed, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Let him go, Elena said. He's got nothing to do with this. Neither did I, but that didn't stop you from destroying my life. Sarah's grip on the gun tightened. Get out. Last chance. Elena's phone was still connected to Morrison. She could hear his voice, tinny and distant, shouting for her location. If she could just keep Sarah talking long enough for backup to arrive. I can hear him, Sarah said. She reached into the car, grabbed Elena's phone and threw it against the pavement. It shattered. No more FBI. No more rescue. Just you and me. Elena climbed out of the wrecked taxi slowly. Her shoulder screamed in protest. Blood dripped from a cut above her eye, warm and sticky. Every movement felt like moving through glass. Sarah stepped back, keeping the gun trained on Elena's chest. Walk. That alley. So you can shoot me where no one will find me? No thanks. Then I shoot you here and take my chances. Sarah's finger moved to the trigger. Your choice. Elena walked. The alley was narrow, dark, the kind of place cities tried to pretend didn't exist. Dumpsters lined one wall. The smell of rot and urine was overwhelming. Elena's heels clicked against broken pavement. Each step felt like walking toward her own execution, which she supposed it was. Halfway down the alley, Sarah said, Stop. Elena stopped, turned to face her. They stood 10 feet apart. The gun between them might as well have been a chasm. You ruined everything, Sarah said. Her voice was still calm, still controlled, but her hands were shaking now. I had a plan, a perfect plan. Destroy Adrian Vale, make him pay for what he did to me. And you came in and turned it around. Made me the villain. You were the villain, Elena said. You blackmailed us, planted surveillance, manipulated your own brother. I was getting justice, for myself, for all the women he hurt. Sarah's voice rose. But you couldn't see that. You saw him as some kind of tragic figure, a man who made mistakes but deserved redemption. He confessed. He turned himself in. Because you asked him to. Don't you get it? You gave him exactly what he wanted, a way to look noble while still controlling the narrative. Sarah laughed, sharp and bitter. He played you, made you think you were making him better when really he was just finding a new way to win. Elena's jaw tightened. That's not, isn't it? Where is he right now? Out on bail, sitting in his penthouse, probably already planning his comeback. Sarah stepped closer. And where are you? Bleeding in an alley? About to die for a man who doesn't deserve you. If you're going to kill me, just do it. I'm tired of the speech. No, you don't get to rush this. You don't get to decide how this ends. Sarah's hand steadied on the gun. I want you to understand. What you took from me. What you destroyed. I destroyed a conspiracy built on lies and manipulation. I destroyed a life built on abuse and silence. Sarah's control finally cracked. Tears spilled down her face, but her aim didn't waver. You have no idea what it's like. To tell the truth and have no one believe you. To watch your abuser get promoted while you get pushed out. To spend 2 years planning revenge only to have someone swoop in and steal it from you. Elena's shoulder throbbed. Blood soaked through her shirt, but she kept her voice steady. I know exactly what it's like. To be powerless. To watch someone else control your narrative. To have your whole life upended by forces you can't control. Then you should understand why I'm doing this. I understand the anger, the hurt, the need for someone to pay. Elena took a careful step forward. But killing me won't give you justice. It'll just make you a murderer. Maybe that's all I have left. Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. Maybe that's all you left me with. The gun fired. Elena felt the bullet before she heard it. White-hot pain exploded through her side. She stumbled backward, hitting the alley wall, her legs giving out. She slid down the brick, leaving a trail of blood. Her hand pressed against the wound. Warm. Wet. Too much blood. Sarah stood over her, the gun still raised. I'm sorry. I thought maybe you'd understand. But you're just like all of them. You see what you want to see. Elena's vision blurred. The alley spun. But through the pain and the shock, she saw something move behind Sarah. A shadow. Fast. Deliberate. Adrian Vale emerged from the darkness and tackled Sarah from behind. The gun flew from her hand, skittering across the pavement. They hit the ground hard, a tangle of limbs and fury. You shot her! Adrian's voice was raw, barely human. You shot her! His fist connected with Sarah's jaw. She went limp. Adrian scrambled away from her toward Elena. His hands found the wound in her side, pressing down hard. Stay with me, Elena. Stay with me. How? Elena coughed, tasted copper. How did you... Who? Morrison called me. Said Sarah made bail, that you were in danger. Adrian's face was white. I've been following your taxi since you left the penthouse. I had to make sure you were safe. Stalker, Elena whispered. Yeah, probably. His hands were covered in her blood. Ambulance is coming. I called them when I heard the shot. Just hold on, please. Elena's hand found his, gripped weakly. The recording. Sarah said, about you and Douglas, was it real? Adrian's expression crumpled. Yes. I said those things. I was someone I'm ashamed of. Someone who prioritized the wrong things. So she was right about you. Maybe. But she was wrong about one thing. Adrian's voice broke. I do deserve you. Because you made me want to be someone who does. Someone better than who I was. Elena's vision was fading. The pain was distant now, muted. That's not how it works. I know. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying anyway. His thumb stroked her hand. Just stay. Please. Don't leave me. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Sarah groaned, stirring on the pavement. Adrian didn't look at her. His entire focus was on Elena, on keeping her conscious, on holding her together through sheer force of will. Tell me something, Elena whispered. Something true? I love you, that's true. Something else. Something that isn't about us. Adrian's laugh was broken. Okay, The company, Vale, the board voted to remove me this morning. Marcus texted me the results, unanimous. Sorry. Don't be. They were right. I built something great, and then I corrupted it trying to save it. He pressed harder on the wound. The pressure sent fresh waves of pain through Elena's body. But I'm going to build something else, something clean. Start over. Do it right this time. Liar. What? You're telling me what I want to hear. Again. Elena's eyes fluttered closed. Stop being what you think I need. Just be honest. Honest? Okay. Adrian's voice hardened. Honest is, I don't care about the company. I don't care about rebuilding or starting over or any of it. I care about you surviving this. And if you die because I couldn't protect you, I don't know what I'll do. But it won't be noble. It won't be redemptive. It'll be destructive and selfish and everything you're afraid I still am. Elena's eyes opened. That's better. Better than lying? Better than pretending. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics swarmed the alley. They pulled Adrian away from Elena, started working on the wound, asking questions neither of them could answer. Police arrived. Arrested Sarah Chen, still dazed on the pavement, read her rights while she sobbed. Morrison showed up, his face grim. He stood over Sarah, then looked at Elena being loaded into the ambulance. You could have died, he said to her. Didn't, though. Not for lack of trying. Morrison turned to Adrian. You're lucky you showed up when you did. Luck had nothing to do with it. I wasn't going to let her face this alone. Even after she walked away from you? Especially after. Adrian climbed into the ambulance beside Elena despite the paramedics' protests. I'm coming with her. Sir, you can't. Try to stop me. The paramedic looked at Elena. She nodded weakly. They rode to the hospital in silence. Elena drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she surfaced, Adrian was there, holding her hand, talking to her in a low, steady voice about nothing and everything. The surgery took 4 hours. The bullet had missed major organs but caused significant internal bleeding. The doctors rebuilt what they could, said she was lucky, said she'd recover fully with time. Adrian waited through all of it, pacing the hospital corridor, refusing to leave. Marcus brought him coffee and updates. The press had gotten wind of the shooting. Reporters were gathering outside. We can sneak you out the back, Marcus offered. I'm not leaving. They're going to crucify you, say you put her in danger, that this is all your fault. It is my fault. Adrian stared at the surgical suite doors. If I just left her alone from the beginning, she'd still have been caught in Sarah's crosshairs. Chen wasn't after you, man. She was after anyone who represented what she lost. Marcus sat down beside him. This isn't on you. Feels like it is. Yeah, it always does. When Elena woke, sunlight was streaming through the hospital window. Her mouth was dry. Her side felt like it was on fire. But she was alive. Adrian was asleep in the chair beside her bed. His hand was wrapped around hers. He looked terrible, unshaven, pale, his clothes stained with her blood. Elena's movement woke him. His eyes snapped open, instantly alert. Hey, he said softly. Hey, how do you feel? Like I got shot. Fair. He stood, checking the monitors. You've been out for 16 hours. Doctors said the surgery went well. No permanent damage. Sarah? In custody. Morrison's building a case. Attempted murder, assault, violation of bail conditions. She's not getting out this time. Elena nodded, tried to sit up. Pain lanced through her side. Adrian was there immediately, adjusting the bed, helping her find a comfortable position. His hands were gentle. Careful. You stayed, Elena said. Of course I stayed. I thought, after everything I said, so you told me to let you go. You didn't say I couldn't keep you alive first. Adrian sat back down. Besides, I needed to make sure you woke up so I could apologize properly. For what? For not being there sooner, for not stopping Sarah before she hurt you, for... He stopped, started again. For being the kind of person who creates enemies like Sarah Chen in the first place. That's not... It is. She was right about one thing. I did say those things to her. I did cover for Douglas. I did prioritize the company over doing what was right. Adrian's voice was quiet, steady. I can't change that. Can't take it back. All I can do is be better going forward and hope that's enough. Elena studied his face, the shadows under his eyes, the new lines around his mouth. He looked older, worn down by the weight of his own choices. The board vote, she said.